You know?
Totally.
Maybe we are.
Well, welcome in, man.
Dude,
this is the abode.
It's beautiful.
It's kind of fun. We got here a few months ago, and
wow, it looks like you've been going for a minute around this place.
That's what literally everybody says is like, it looks like you like vomited all over the walls with
but in a good
your
way.
personality.
And it's freaking, I like it though when people take time to set up everything.
Yeah. Get comfortable. Oh, dude, I have to. It's home base.
Yeah, one must. If it's alright, I'll use the bathroom real quick.
Of course.
Yeah, and then we can
Yeah, no, for sure.
Oh, hey, Katie, hi. Oh,
Yeah, that's what you want to say. And then you're on the
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out! Here comes the Spider-Man.
That was the only thing we didn't have at this place.
Well, not only that, this looks like an interesting size to find a couch for. You know?
Oh, it's just right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, because I've been trying to get my brother's house a little bit, like, just more cozy.
Is that where you're out here?
Yeah. Yeah, have you hang with my brother some, right?
I don't know.
Shad? You ever hang out with Shad Spencer?
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe.
Shut up, really? Dude, it would be so, at some point.
Maybe. I have? I don't know.
He's rad, dude.
I show up to a lot of the events and...
Let's see.
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Especially like whenever there's like a
just
premiere or whatever there's
Sure. But he's one of those people that like he's been you know what I mean? He was like a neophyte aberration like 1997.
yeah,
you know
like,
what I mean?
fundamental.
90
early in it.
early. Like yeah.
And here.
Yeah, in Colorado, in Denver.
No way.
This is like his most current part for freaking lunch break skateboard.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he's rad. Yeah. Anyway, you should get him. He's so odd. Because
Richard, yeah.
Yeah, that's his gram. Anyway, but dude, he's one of those people that like all the spots and everything around here.
Yeah.
Stories for days.
That is something I almost kind of want because I'm curious. Did you start in Denver?
We moved from.
It should be. Yeah.
If there's no feedback, hey, how's that?
Golden.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. No, it's perfect.
Yeah, so I actually started in Texas. Our family is kind of from the San Luis Valley, and I think my parents got a divorce. Excuse me, my mom moved down there with her mom. My dad then was like, they were divorced for a year, and my dad was like, hang on. Divorce is stupid. No. And so he went down there to kind of get her, and then
to patch it up.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, and they got remarried. I remember their remarriage ceremony. But
how old were you at that point?
I don't know, 3-4 years old.
Okay.
But I fully remember. You know what the coolest thing about it was that they had one of those piano benches that you could open the seat up, and they had the music. And I was like mind blown.
On the inside,
it's a secret. I was like, it's a secret compartment.
Finding a good stash as a kid is so cool. Especially it's like treasure.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, so people aren't boring. This is cool.
And then usually there's something good in there.
Fully.
Or it's just sheet music. But
hey, I was ready either way to be psyched. But yeah, anyways, so we moved down there before I was in school.
Okay.
We moved from Colorado because he brought her back to Colorado for a while. Moved down there. And so I really my brother made me start skateboarding when I was about 9 or 10.
Was it because he wanted...
He just didn't want to do it by himself.
Yeah, he needed
was like,
a homie.
Yeah, he was like, hey, no offense, I just don't want to do this alone. And, especially there, like not California, not anywhere that had any sort of skate culture.
A scene.
It was super secretive and awesome and interesting because of that. But it was not definitely my first. Like I used to climb trees and jump out of trees and stuff. Very like Tarzan times. So skateboarding for me was
as Tarzan was coming out.
Meaning in my mind, reading like because I don't know if that movie was out by then or whatever.
Tarzan
but in my
times
mind, I was like, you know, knew about Tarzan or whatever,
Yeah.
and was like, yeah, that's my scene, climbing up in trees and stuff. I wasn't really, skateboarding was not like on my radar.
Totally.
And if my brother wasn't like, he was pretty good at it naturally. If he wasn't, I don't think I would have. I would have been like, hey, you know, you see him slam, I would have been like, this isn't that good of a plan.
Yeah.
But he
it
was,
looks like the most painful thing in the world.
yeah, when
And
it doesn't
also
go
when you're
well.
first starting, it's
Yeah.
like your ollies are rough. You know what I
Everything
mean?
is a
Yeah.
is a risk. Yeah.
So you're just like, man, you just ate it just trying to go down a curb.
Just living your life.
Yeah.
Very true.
Or a crack. Like a simple crack can wreck
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah.
it's all like risk at first and so little reward.
Yeah. So little.
You
Compared,
know?
like really, like how much you put in.
But when
how
you
much
jump off a
time-
tree, you get that reward instantly once you land.
Yeah, you do. And you're like, no one can measure anything when it's trees. You're like, that's sick. That's pretty tall.
Especially
no
a
one's
fisheye.
Yeah. No one's going to be like, oh, that tree's not that tall. You're like, I don't care. I climbed it. It was rad.
Yeah.
Like, no one can argue with you whether you're psyched or not, you know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're like, I jump out of a tree too. You're like, no, it wasn't that tree.
Yeah. That's my tree.
Most trees are NBD.
Yeah, they fully are. That's actually a great perspective. In fact, I just paid the taxes. That land that we grew up on, that like my parents sort of
In
divided
Texas?
in Texas. I think it was 10 acres, and 5 of it was all pine trees and woods, and the other 5 was like land that the house was on and stuff that we kind of like cut a lot of the trees off of.
Yeah.
Um,
Incorporated.
Yeah, fully. But the other 5 acres, and what's rad about it is, for like learning flips and stuff like I did, is that someone had basically, which I'm like, I don't know how that's possible, but all flat. Texas is all flat. It's all sand, right? But someone had taken a backhoe and in between all these huge pine trees had dug it out. So you would have like the base, like where the tree would meet the ground, and then all the roots sticking out like this in all directions, like you could just run into it. But what's cool is it created height differences that normally it's all flat around there. If you wanted to ride a bike, because we watched that movie Rad at some point.
But there's no elevation naturally in Texas.
Just none. Just like the most flat where you're like, please, just a little. Like you don't know where you are there. Because if you look out in Colorado, you know, you got bluffs, you got where you go, oh, we're going over there.
Yeah,
Texas,
like little lighthouses.
Every direction you look, you're like, there's trees. Now there's more trees.
It's just
now there's
empty.
more trees. You just don't know where
You
you're
can
going.
see every street light. Like if you're on like on a straight road, you can see them all down the road. Not like here where it's like it gets blocked after a hill or something, you know?
Yeah,
it
it's
is crazy.
crazy.
And then so having that
well, it just
built in the backyard for you.
Yeah, it was. So we ended up just because, like, it was literally carved out in between trees and stuff that we had just this natural track that we would ride BMX bikes and stuff on. Yeah, and then when I was ready to be like, all right, I can do flips on a trampoline, I'll try them outside. There were like awesome little mounds that was the perfect just height to like huck it off of, but in the sand.
Yeah,
it was it's like very not beach sand, but very sandy.
It's a lot softer.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
was
rocks.
like it made you be like, all right, well, if I do land on my back, I'm not gonna die, you know?
Yeah,
But yeah,
and that's how you started getting more comfortable jumping off of things.
yeah,
And you enjoyed it as a kid, like you were doing it a lot.
I was doing that as a kid a lot myself, or like,
Interesting.
you know, we would do things, especially there's pine trees, therefore you have those green pine cones, and every one of those was obviously a grenade.
Yeah. Oh,
You're a grenade.
It's
If
got
it
the
hits by
perfect-
you,
it's like a football where you can almost spiral them.
Yeah.
The way they're built.
yeah. But if you do not jump away from the explosion of it hitting by you, you're not allowed to play with us. Like, hey man, you got to get out of here. Those are the rules. That's clearly good. But yeah, I just had a lot of that like adventure energy, you know?
Yeah.
But my brother was really the one who I could jump off of stuff, but nothing crazy because I was a kid. I was pretty timid that I was like not trying to go crazy, except for the climbing trees part, which I still am like, because I used to like hang off them upside down. But compared to skateboarding, it felt kind of mellow.
Yeah.
But actually, my brother was the one who he went to a practice for cheerleading at some point, like meaning he was at football practice. The cheerleaders happened to be practicing on the same field, and he was watching him one day from the bench, like do back handsprings, and he was like, "Hey man, I think I got that," and they're like, really? He's like, I don't, maybe. He cartwheels and tries and they're like, you do. Anyway, they tried to get him on the cheerleading squad.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the worst thing to do, but it's not as cool as skateboarding.
Well, indeed, but for him, he obviously is like, hey, thank you, but no. But he then brought it home, and we had a trampoline. That's one thing my dad would, even if they were old, crusty ones, he would get us one, like go to the back of the newspaper before Google or whatever and get us a trampoline.
Really?
So that, I don't know why, but maybe he thought it kept us out of trouble. I don't know.
That's so funny.
But that was our basis of all acrobatics, whatever, except for then my brother was like, I think I can just back handspring. And I was like, really? And my dad used to grate the driveway. So he would like basically when it rained, it would make big ruts in the driveway. So he would take this box blade over it behind a tractor, and it'd be super soft sand, like super sick, and a little bit downhill. And my brother could just back handspring down the driveway.
Oh, wow.
But like in a row where I was like, so my level of like,
how much older is he at this point?
4 years.
Okay.
Not that, like, considering.
Yeah.
Just, but with like naturally just doing it that I saw all that stuff. And so in my little brain, it took me many years, by the way, to like follow up any of that. Because he was just so talented. It took just a normal person much longer, but I saw that in my head when I was younger, and I was like, "Oh shoot, that's so cool! I'm gonna have to at some point figure this out."
He looks like a ninja.
Yeah,
yeah,
fully.
When you're a kid and you're seeing somebody do stuff like that.
Well, and he was like, "Yeah, they're pretty cool." Where he wasn't like, "Oh man, I'm glad I made it." He was like, "Yeah,
I'll chill about it."
He's like, "Those are sick, I guess." And then he'd be like,
like
"I'm gonna
didn't even."
Yeah, he's like, "I'm gonna go
it.
skate. I might do some later." He used to do it like. We saw one kid. His name is Danny.
He's got older brother vibes, dude. This is such an older brother.
Where he's like not trying. He's like, yeah, if you want to.
That's such an older sibling.
It totally is.
Just nail it.
Yeah,
out the gate.
Like kind of slightly like a little bit McConaughey, and a little bit Patrick Swayze. Like I still joke with him about his skateboarding. Patrick Swayze in Point Break, how he's like steezy with his hair doing whatever. And it's like a little bit guilty pleasure, especially if you like Dirty Dancing or whatever. It's like a guilty, but my brother's like, will see pictures of him and be like, I'd get that hairdo for sure. So I always make fun of him. I'm like, dude, when I see you skate, you look like Patrick Swayze. He's like, easy does it. But to me, that older brother energy was that I was super inspired by that the whole time.
Totally.
I was like, that dude knows what's up.
Yeah.
I'm just going to, whatever he does, I'm going to try to get in there,
Well, especially if like, it's not like he's doing anything that the parents are getting upset about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not
totally
being a bad boy.
No.
That's like a good influence.
No, it was. And what's interesting with my parents, though, is his dad was such like a hard worker guy, not super joyful, like
just
not
very
a
blue
happy.
collar.
Yeah, very blue collar, but also not overly happy, kind of bummed on himself, but for reasons no one could nail down.
Sure.
Super
He ain't
talented
brooding.
carpenter.
Stuff going on.
Yeah. So our dad was like, hey, you should really just start working. Like the same time that I started skateboarding, my dad also was like, hey, there's this old couple around the corner. They're super nice, our neighbors. And he's like, they have this old peach orchard that is like run down. Like a bunch of the trees need to be pruned if we're going to like get some fruit out of that. And we as kids were like, get some fruit out of it. What? Why? Anyways, he's like, so he goes, talks to him, and sure enough, they're like, yeah, you're 3 young boys. That'll be great. So my dad's like, every summer would make us take care of this peach orchard all summer, while all of our friends were at the lake, living their lives,
having fun,
working super duper hard, even from a young age, where all the skateboarding and other stuff we wanted to be up to, that was sort of taboo.
Oh, really?
Because we were supposed to be working.
Fun.
Like, hey, ooh, yeah. So we were even a notch above that. Like, there's bad stuff, there's skateboarding, which should be good, and then there's this third rung of like, hey, actually, you should feel guilty when you're not working.
You're
and
smiling, and that's even.
And my dad, like, the thing is, too, is it wasn't one of those things. My dad loved to work, though.
Yeah.
He wasn't like, oh, you just do it, and
it was
life
probably
sucks, and you hate. He's like, this is so fun. Like,
but it
up
was
at 5.
It was like installed into him.
Yeah.
That like appreciation of working hard.
And he was like deeply into it with, I'm like, no one's paying you right now. He's like, I know, it's sick. You're like, I don't know what's wrong. I mean, it's also what's right with you, but you confuse me
like
with
the whole
it.
like doing the right thing when nobody's looking is really what matters.
Yeah. Oh, he was that guy. He was a police officer as well. So he was.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, any shoplifting, anything like that. He would give us conferences about it, and we're like, Dad, you're so strict. We would never even think about doing that. He's like, I know. I just like to talk to you about it anyway. We're like, okay, man, we're never going to do it. You would beat us to death. We would just never.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so your thrills have been pretty much, self-contained. Like it's some things that
Indeed.
you were doing
Yeah.
You had to choose.
We were
like,
getting
I'm
in
gonna go out
trouble
there
for
and
doing
just-
good stuff. Where they're like, you should be working, not getting better at whatever that is. And you're
It's
like, cool,
wild.
cool. Yeah. So it's a very interesting dichotomy because a lot of kids, their parents are just happy they're not in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah.
Our standards were like
skateboarding's the thing they usually give you to
yeah,
be like,
yeah. Say,
stay
hey,
off
do this instead.
video games and drugs. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Did is he mellowed out now? Like
My
at his age?
my pops unfortunately is gone.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry about that.
no. He's
It
dude.
happens.
Well, what's cool
That's what
is
dads do.
if you're awesome enough, you'll leave an impression forever.
Yeah.
And he was like that, dude. Hard
made his mark.
worker. Yeah, we're like, it's so sick actually. Every day we're like, you know what Dad would do, and like in a funny way, we're like, that dude would probably be up already. It's 5:30 a.m. He'd probably be so. I think for him, like he probably would have mellowed out when he was older, but really, you know, my brother is a lot like him because he'll just
Work hard.
he can just and naturally just get a bunch of stuff done in a day and somehow squeeze skateboarding in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really figured out the balance. And now his son Silas has just got the skateboard itch. Like when he was younger,
Wow, that's the best.
dude, we tried to get him to skate, and he was like,
You can't.
He
You
would get it.
can't
No,
Push
you
it.
cannot.
You have to
no.
watch the seed plant itself.
Yeah. It has to be their idea, kind of. And he now is super like just going for it, like down 4 stairs and just like.
Oh,
I bet you he's
dude.
in like 5th grade, and all of his friends are into it, and they're in that phase right now where everyone's learning to kickflip, not at the
Yeah.
same time, but like 2 weeks apart, a
No,
week
totally.
apart. Yeah.
Well, that's how actually you get better is when you're with other people. How you were
Yeah.
talking about your brother needing you there to skate with. Like you do need
You
other
do.
people.
Yeah, that
Even if it's
motivation.
just to be like someone else to be like, I think you can do that.
Yeah. That second
Or,
opinion.
I didn't think I could do that, but watching you do it, I mean, I might as well shoot my shot, right? You
Yeah.
know? Like it's
It
so
tells
much
you a
more.
lot.
It's so inspiring to be. Even it doesn't matter what the level of the other person is. It doesn't matter like what kind of tricks they're going for.
Yeah.
It's almost just having somebody else to be like, "Fuck yeah, dude."
Yeah, just bounce it off. And in a lot of ways, just someone there to be like, hey, man, you're not crazy. You know, you're not crazy. That is possible. Like,
Exactly.
It looks scary, but I also think you can do this, and that. So maybe.
And
You know?
somebody saying you should do that. Oh man, there's no better.
That's
like,
true.
Inspiration being
Yeah.
like, you think I can?
Yeah.
And being like, well, I almost want to not just prove it to me, but prove it to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, skating with people is fundamental. The first skateboard I got was from a friend who was just like, I need to skate with somebody. Here you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one who got like that. That's
No,
cool.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, true. Because I do, you know, like when I think about it, my oldest brother and I, and it turns out we didn't know this till years later, he and I are actually half brothers. And so genetically, there's a lot of crossover with us. Our voices sound pretty similar and stuff.
Yeah.
But there are certain things like I would probably have been better as like a dancer, realistically.
Yeah.
Like physically, like stuff that's not quite so
When I watch
scary. Yeah.
the coordinated fight scenes that you do, that's such a dance. Not only are
It's
you
a-
remembering all the steps, but you're doing it with somebody else.
Yeah.
It is a tango, like,
Yeah, the rhythm of it is there. And I do, it's funny because even in skateboard lines, oftentimes if I feel like something has the wrong rhythm, I'll refilm it.
Oh.
Even if I land everything, I go, no, not to like, it doesn't feel good between here and there. Like there's too much of a beat between here and there.
interesting.
Yeah.
I am getting really into the choices because I think that skateboarding content has obviously evolved so much in the last, you know what I mean? So like watching what a
Yeah.
quote unquote YouTube skater versus a TikTok skater versus
Yeah.
a pro skater, like all of them are such different categories. And like, I mean, I post my own clips of me just skating a bank. It's I prefer to do it that way, even though it's not like the coolest shots. I'll post the same, like a rough cut. You know, that's what I enjoy watching is the like the journey of it. I'm not but in my head I go, but when I make that real final 30-minute video, it's going to be one perfect clip after one perfect clip after. You know, like I almost categorize them all in different ways.
I think it keeps your sanity as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm going for one and get the other. And I'm going for the other one and I get this one.
Yeah.
And then for me, like one of my biggest things, if I just could pay someone, if I just gave them clips or gave them whatever and said, hey, I want you to post this in a way that other humans like or think is good, I could do a lot. Because my Instagram, I can build it to a certain point, and there's a cutoff point where they go, yeah, and then you should put captions, and then you should talk to camera, and then you should, that I go, I'm going to hire someone to think about that, because if I think about that for too long, I would be like,
yeah, that's
I would
not
be
why
like,
you're making the content.
no, like for me, like this new video part, if
You're not at that point. You're not making content for you or the person. You're making it for the algorithm.
Yeah,
which
and
is
what's
not how
nuts
you
is,
should be
by the
making-
way, because the algorithm is a thing of like, well, this is kind of a mediary where it's like kind of equalizes everything. You're like, no, it isn't. It's a robot telling humans how to do stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, no offense, but like, just so you know, I forget who made the computer. Oh, we did.
Yeah.
You can't make something and then have it tell you what to do in a way that doesn't make any sense.
100%. And it
Yeah.
also just doesn't have the. Like, it doesn't have the reason. It's not the art reason to do it. If
Yeah.
somebody sends you a formula and you go, oh, well, if I just copy this formula, it does better. That's not.
Yeah.
It loses all the.
Well, otherwise, by the
touch.
way, you would just continue to redo and redo and redo
Oh,
and redo.
yeah, you wouldn't
like
make anything new.
If you look up
That's
on a
such a good
computer,
point.
like, hey, what's the thing to do? They'll be like A, B, C, D. They're not like, what do you do to make a difference? They're like, that's not my department.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course you would say that. you know?
Exactly.
It'd be weird if you weren't consistent.
I think that you expressing even like I can't. Yeah, I totally relate to that. It sucks how different it is, because you do have to, with comedy and skateboarding, it's a clips economy.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we live. Even
Yeah.
just like you were saying, I can only build it to so much before I have to like literally be doing work.
Yeah, doing work, and also in some way going around my own, what I'm even getting out of it. That's it. People go, well, I don't like. You could open Instagram right now. You go to the Discover page, and you'll look up there, and you're like, wow, these people clearly made this so that someone would watch it.
Yeah.
I don't think that lady really wanted to make that. She just knew it would get watched.
Yeah, or
it
a thing
begs
that
the
says
question.
wait till the end, and it's
Yeah.
somebody just like about to fight somebody for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It-
that you're like, just so you know, fooling people into watching something isn't the same thing as giving you something they truly care about. It's
and-
just not.
And I think that performance on something has nothing to do with how you should feel on the content. You know what I mean? I'm glad when something does well,
Sure.
but I don't think something's good based off of
I
it got this amount of likes.
I'm usually, by the time I get done and something is done really well that I've spent no time on, I'm like, I know nothing. I actually know nothing.
It feels that way,
I
right?
know nothing about anything, and every value system that I've ever set up in my mind
Yeah.
is wrong.
It's
And
all
I'm
fucked.
just gonna, I don't know.
So when you were first making your first parts, all that was out here.
Yeah. And so I had tried to go to college. So my first year out of high school, my parents were like, well, you're going to go to college? And I was like, well, I don't want to be a loser. Yeah, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
But because I didn't know what to do with that, and didn't really feel any sort of like pull towards anything, that I went and I was in Arizona on the Native American reservation just helping out at a school.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, I should
Volunteering
give
time?
back. I was like, that's kind of sick. Yeah, because I was like, oh, I'll buy myself some time, go help some people, come back.
Yeah.
And next year, my middle brother, Bennett, who's now an airline pilot for Southwest, he was in his last year of flight training in Michigan at a school up there. And he said, well, just come to college with me. I was like, yeah, cool. But he's like, well, what else are you going to do? I was like, oh, I don't know.
No clue.
You know?
Yeah. You're
And
looking
so-
for that thing to say, go this direction.
Yeah, well, and dude, in movies, a lot of times, people just get snatched up and take on an adventure.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, life, come snatch me up.
Yeah, you were looking for that signal,
And I remember
that
just
sign.
being like, okay, I'm not hearing anything from any direction, you know?
Oh, 100%.
That I was like, all right, dude, I'll go to college with you. So I went that year with
at
him.
some point, I know that feeling of looking up at the stars and being like, I don't think this is where I need to be. There's something else I need to change to make the thing happen.
Yeah. And
I need to make the decision now. I can't wait for the thing.
Yeah, and I did. I really wanted to go to. I always loved all the animals and how crazy Australia was, like just from the onset of looking at it. That I was like, I'll go to college in
Seems
Australia.
like a foreign concept.
Dude, like I'm like,
like something
spiders
out of
as big
books.
as your hand. All right.
Speaking of.
Yeah, but I could never. That is as big as my hand. You're like, and it is your hand. But dude, I never got into that school, so I went to
So
college.
you went with him out
I
there,
went
though.
with him to Michigan, and what's funny is so basically, this is a quick, I'll do 2 intersecting lines of 2 story plot points here. But I was skating with my brother Shad, and Bennett skated with us. And Bennett's, by the way, our middle brother, is pretty good. He just doesn't do it very much. But he was comparable. He could kickflip, he could heel flip, he could do pop shove it, he could do all the stuff back in the day.
That's, that's more than most people who touch a board.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a cutoff.
Yeah,
where
true.
it's like a lot of people who push around, a lot of people go, I can skateboard. And then you hear, well, could you kickflip?
Yeah, true,
You know
true.
what
It's
I
a
mean?
true cutoff, yeah. And he was a little thicker than us, a little huskier, but still could get down to biz for sure.
Husker dude.
But what's fascinating about it is, so I had skated with Shad. I started when I was 9, and it's about when I started karate classes. So I went from like 9 or 10 until I was about 14 when we moved away from Texas. So I, in that time period, got my black belt, which I was so psyched, like as a kid, to like train that hard and then teach other people. I was like, that's amazing. In that same time period, the skateboarding, I was doing it with my brother, and I bet you I got to like 12 or 13 whenever he moved it, because he ended up moving to Colorado because he was just over Texas. So
Yeah.
my skateboarding didn't it kind of fizzled because he wasn't around.
Yeah.
And so I really took sort of a hiatus between there and didn't really start up again until I would say almost the end of high school, like halfway through my junior year, maybe senior year.
Was there a reason that
I just remember being like,
Baker
wow.
3 dropped? I'm kidding.
No, funny enough, I think what it was, there was a couple of kids at my school that had skated.
Yeah.
My brother was making video parts already out here.
Really?
So I was inspired. Oh, yeah, already.
Okay.
No, he made 2 or 3 video parts when we were kids. I had some video part like when I was really young, you know, like 11, 12 maybe.
Totally. Wow. That's crazy.
But
Even that level of editing back then, that stuff isn't
and he
easy.
used to do, and
Using
he would
the
do it
camcorder?
to like the rocket launcher cam.
Yeah.
And he switched up cameras pretty quick to like some small version, but he was fully VCR to VCR VHS version. You
At
know?
first, wow.
But he was that committed to it and psyched, which I couldn't argue with. I was like, well, now I have to make a video part if that's what
Yeah.
you're going to go through to make sure it happens. But then I quit for a long time. And then, and I think what it was is like I was in high school and my other brother snowboarded a lot, Bennett, where I had all this influence around me, but I didn't do it. I just like, my brothers are awesome. They do it. I kind of do it. But I dabbled with all of it, but wasn't into any of it really.
Wasn't focusing.
Yeah, in karate I was, but that one in my mind it's not as there's not as much risk in karate. There's just not.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not as
Physically-
scary. And I was thinking, all right, well, yeah, because people would be like, wow, you seem really, or you can kick really high or whatever. I was like, yeah, but it's not skateboard. Have you tried to kick? Have you tried to kick flip? This is right. This is comparatively. Which, by the way, that's something interesting because my brother does the same thing. All the skateboard tricks that he's really good at, he's like, I'm not going to do those. That's easy. He's like, I want to be good at the ones I'm terrible at. And so
Yeah.
he'll focus on those. Where everybody else, if you go to California, people just play to their strengths.
Yeah, well-
They're like, hey, that's the hard flip guy. Let him hard flip the set. What are we doing?
Totally.
Where I think it's both makes someone well-rounded, but also it's interesting to not, like, it's a weird dichotomy to, I should have just kept going with martial arts.
Sure, yeah,
I
yeah,
should have
especially
kept
if-
going into regular direction of like, all right, try dance, try acrobatics, try. And in high school, I was in some sort of acro sports team, but there's still some side thing that I was like, yeah, I don't really care about this. This is not what this isn't skateboarding. It's not that hard. So anyway, cut to, I am at college with my brother Bennett, and I fast forwarded.
In Michigan?
Yeah,
At this
in
point?
Michigan.
Yeah.
And I have the last, year and a half, like however much of high school, halfway through 11th grade and then all the way. In fact, in our senior trip, maybe we went to LA for our senior trip, and I was
What?
just like,
From Michigan?
no. So this is I Loveland, Fort Collins
Oh, okay.
is where I went to high school. Then I basically go to California on that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is all the spots, whatever. It got me
you
psyched.
You saw them in person. Dude, there's nothing like that.
There's
when you
nothing like
actually
that.
see
I'm
the
like,
Hollywood High.
yeah,
set,
you're
and
like-
for the first, you're like, that's it. Like I've seen this in videos. It feels like Narnia or Atlantis or something.
It's
Where
shocking how special it all felt.
yeah,
And so I was inspired by that.
That's
Then
cool.
I go to the Native American reservation for that next year after high school. And dude, I'm just like, went from like skate, like had to get all my tricks back that were all like on flat ground, not off of
yeah.
anything, whatever. And now I'm like waxing up telephone poles on the ground and just learning to board slide telephone pole. Cause that's
Whatever's
all that's
available.
there.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't, instead of going, hey, I should buy a flat bar. Like, I don't proactive. It's really
Instead
weird.
of building a box.
My brain's not like that. My brain's like, yeah, what's here? I'll just slide whatever that is naturally. Like, I will not change. And so there was some kids at the Native American reservation that crushed it at skating.
Yeah.
So they pushed me. And by the time
No
I
way.
got to Michigan that next year.
What's it like getting a scene going out in like a spot like that? Where is it really just like 2 or 3 kids get into it and then they start getting decks and then it's just like their brother and then another friend or whatever?
Yeah,
That's
because when I was out there, my brother every once in a while would stop through and be like, hey, William, here's a deck, or like, here's some shoes, some old shoes I'm not going to wear anymore.
and then you
whatever.
get one DVD for everybody. And
Dude,
yeah.
And it was cool because it was motivating. And at first, I know the people that were at the school that were teaching were like, what are we doing? Skate gangs.
Yeah.
And then soon they realized how everyone was into it. And they're like, well, all right, as long as everyone wears a helmet. And I was like, but not me, right? Like trying to haggle for that. Because I don't know why, but if you ever want me to not rip or like be able to land any trick, just put a helmet on.
Really?
Me. I did not.
No
I had to
cap.
wear it on that Disney show that I kept stunt doubling on, and they would put me in a helmet.
And it just threw you off.
Yeah, I would just be like, all right, well, I guess not gonna land
That's
anything
fascinating.
today. So weird psychologically.
Yeah. No,
well,
it's just
and
one
you
thing
picture
can throw you off.
You picture yourself, the footage of you. You're like, I'm never gonna watch this. It was just so weird because now obviously people are dead serious. Like, it's crazy. People never wore helmets.
Oh,
You're
I
like,
know.
it's very true.
Like an Andy.
Yeah, where you're like, hey, that is very
He's
true.
making it cool.
It's crazy that no one ever did, but the truth is, you can do whatever you want, but they don't look good.
No.
Yeah,
oh.
they're totally safe. You should wear them. Kids should wear them. Everyone should wear them. Don't. I look so stupid. I want to punch myself. You should wear them.
There's an indoor park here that I would love to go to because it looks cool as hell. And I just cannot, as an adult, put on a helmet. As a kid, I could see telling a kid like, hey, dude, you're 12.
Yeah,
Keep that
come
thing
on,
protected.
just in case, your
But
poor
me,
head.
I'm like, dude, I'm an adult. I can do
Yeah.
whatever I want. I'm not
Well,
wearing a
and I'm
helmet.
like, hey, I'd rather die than look that stupid. You're like, wow, that's jacked. You're like, that is. Did I just say that out loud? What is wrong
no,
with
dude,
me?
that's the most skater sentence, though. I
Oh.
do totally get it. Especially coming out, like going into the 90s, early 2000s, everybody rejected the safety nets.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
It was like when everybody left vert, they were like, that's up and down's too safe. We need to start going
Yep.
to like the crustiest banks.
Yep.
I think there's something about the risk element that came
Yeah.
up in that era.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
helmets are it's like fucking mall grabs.
Yeah.
It's such a
Well, and
weird
by the way,
thing that we all think looks so bad.
well, and it's funny because generationally, people that are younger are like, whatever, yeah, sometimes if I want to. I'm like, that must be so nice to feel like that. That'd be sick.
You didn't
I wish
get
I was born
bullied.
at the time where, well, not only that, but Andy Anderson making the point of that.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I got like skipped over. Like, I've never had any major sponsors ever. In
Really?
my whole time, no one has ever been, William, you're skateboarding, whatever, unique and creative, whatever.
Yeah.
Never had a real sponsor.
Like a
I'm
ride or die
So
throughout.
I got skipped over, but helmet guys in. Cool. Okay, cool. Which
What's
is
next?
fascinating. But the
Soaps
truth
are coming
is,
back.
yeah, but the truth is people just started to realize, oh, people are taking themselves too seriously. Andy Anderson was like, whatever, dude, I'm gonna wear a helmet and just see if I can go pro like this. Because if you think about it, it is punk rock, by the way. To be like,
he's
hey,
not doing it to be safe. He's doing it because that's what he wants to do.
yeah, exactly.
You know, he's
and
doing
I think,
his thing.
yeah, and I'm thinking, dude, that is punk rock.
It
if
is
you're
in
like,
its
I
own
don't
way.
care if I look like an idiot, I'm just gonna do it anyways, just see if I can get away with it. That's a rad task.
No, you're
He's
totally
like, I'm gonna
right.
do full disadvantage and still be good enough for everyone to be like, yeah, you're in.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, maybe I should have done that. I don't know.
There's something super punk rock to doing it, even though it's because it's what he wants to do.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
because he's like, you know what would be niche? What if I'm the helmet guy?
Yeah, totally, totally. I think it's cool. Whatever. However, it opened up, so now he's relevant is sick. That's
Yeah.
rad. Thank goodness someone's evolving somewhere.
Totally.
You know, because I was waiting for years on people to open up. I was like, okay.
I am curious about when you were talking about. Okay, so you're Michigan at this point, and you just finished, or
It's super snowy.
'Cause you left
I
Arizona.
shouldn't be super psyched on skating, right?
you just spent this whole time getting back into it in Arizona.
Yeah,
right?
and that was super harsh because I would be like work all day, landscaping, helping with
hot.
maintenance, helping like do whatever, like teach PE. I would just squeeze in skating. So by the time I got to Michigan, it was not a good circumstance because it's freezing outside. There's snow everywhere. And I just remember being more psyched than ever to skate at that
Oh,
point.
man.
I don't know why. Like, it
Yeah.
just motivated me because
Something
normally
about being told no.
Told no, and also like, dude, this sucks. Like, if you don't buck up, you can't. Like, it's so snowy here so often that if you don't buck up and pull it together, you're never gonna skate.
Oh,
and
true.
So I used to shovel stuff, and in fact, and not
Damn,
that-
as it's that cold outside.
yeah, oh, it's free, and that snow stays forever.
And
I mean, it's
you're-
not like Colorado where it'll dry up in 2 days.
Well, yeah.
it just stays. It's just a
It's
pile of
there
snow
for like
yeah.
months.
Yeah,
And
forever.
it's harder to get motivated when you haven't seen the sun in 3 days. And
Dude, I couldn't believe, like, as I was doing it, and when I look back, I'm like, wow, you were really motivated. Because I used to, like, wait, like, on a Friday night or whatever, and wait till everyone had kind of left the English department or wherever.
Yeah.
And I remember there's an 8 stair inside of it that I would go in there, and there was, like, a copy or printer at the bottom, and I would just freaking try to, like, get down to biz on this 8 stair, just ollieing it
Yeah.
all the time. And it was rad.
that's
It was
huge. I mean, the 8 stair is not like a small thing to tackle as you're.
No. And I don't think I mean, I think I indie grabbed it, which is hilarious. But you have to remember, for me, too, this is funny. This is very, I don't know if it's autistic, but it's on the spectrum of, if you give me a really interesting circumstance, if you give me good colors, if you give me an obstacle that looks like Disneyland, I would more likely slam, land it, try something really hard,
Yeah.
pull off something that's like totally unexpected, than if you just give me a regular concrete skate park that's regular concrete
Yeah.
with regular coping and regular dimensions.
A quarter pipe.
My brain and my body's like, I don't
What do I do
really
with this?
care. It's rad. I want to watch someone rip this. I just don't want to
So
myself.
something you said earlier, where you were talking about the pole, and I really am curious about this. So you were approaching a pole, and you were like, "Oh shit, I should board slide this." So you
Mm-hmm.
start waxing a wooden pole that fell over, something that like wouldn't normally be skated.
Splinters
it's not
a
an
lot,
obstacle.
too.
Yeah, something that also is like it's not built for it. You were like, I can get a rail.
Yeah.
But I'd prefer
Yeah.
to show up to something that is naturally given to me by the circumstance of the world, and I come up with something. So do you go to a spot and just let the trick come to you? Or do you often have it prepared?
I do everything.
Yeah.
So I do like, in Rich, you always say that he'll take me to a spot that he's trying something at, and Richie Jackson, I mean.
Dude, I can't believe how cool it is that you're boys.
Yeah, we were roommates for years for a while
Really?
there. Yeah, because he got a divorce and didn't know what to do.
That fucking level of inspiration having that guy next to you.
Yeah,
That's-
well, and what's funny about between Richard and I is that between the two of us, I'm the workaholic, and he's the one that's like, maybe we do it tomorrow, William, when it's sunny. And I'm all, what? No.
we got to go thrifting.
Yeah, he's rad because his perspective is he's much more relaxed about his inspiration, and even if it takes him, like for me, if you take me to a spot, I can give you 5 interesting ideas in a minute and a half. Like if
Yeah.
you really let me think about it, all right, well, top 5 is this. If I get away with that, I could also do this. If you give me more time, I'll do this. If you give me a month, I'll do this. If you let me train for it, I'll do this. And Richie will be like, well, I don't know what to do here. I'm just going to take a photo, and he'll think about it later. But that's his style, and that's my
Really?
style.
He
Oh,
ponders on it.
Yeah, he'll like methodically ponder on it, where me,
You
he's
start
like,
throwing shit to the wall.
no, well, he just goes, William, I've never seen anyone come up with ideas faster than you.
Yeah, you start seeing what works.
Yeah, I because of like practicing imagination a lot longer than other kids. I played with toys way longer than other kids. I remember collecting other people. I'd be in whatever grade that people get embarrassed. Like, I'm into girls now. I was like, yeah, me too. Hey, if you throw out those He-Man, let me know. Yeah, if you throw all those stupid G.I. Joes, they're kind of lame, right? I'll throw them away for you.
Yeah.
I was that
funny.
kid where I was like, yeah, they suck, but what are you gonna do with them? Right?
That's so cool.
Because of
The-
that, I spent so much
it's
more
so
time
interesting
visualizing than other people.
Playing with actually creating like stories and all that kind of stuff, little army men and
Yeah.
Really?
But, well, here's the thing. If you go to any giant movie in
Spider-Man
the world,
toys?
listen to this, of course.
That's
but
so
like
cool.
Andy Armstrong, James Armstrong, the Armstrong family,
Yeah.
right? Vic Armstrong, who was like James Bond movies, all that. When they plan a car chase, guess what they use?
Oh,
Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
It's all in there, dude. It's all like everything. Because if you can't actualize and visualize something very well, it's so much harder to be like, I don't know if it'll work. When you can sit there and be like, I don't know.
Wow.
If you watch
so when
me,
you're
there's
visualizing it, these tricks, you're actually visualizing. Like in
oh,
your
I can
brain.
see it now. Yeah, and what's crazy is if you ever watch me, if I'm doing something that I'm really concentrated on trying to figure it out, you'll watch before my roll up, and you'll see me fingerboard in the air and be like, all right, like you just got a gap out. You're just gonna like
That's so sick.
yeah. If you watch, you'll see it. You'll like many times. It's like if
Interesting.
the front of the clip isn't cut off, I'll be like,
You know what was my big way of doing that? Because I don't have that skill. Like, my brain doesn't work that way.
Does it not? What does it do?
But when I can repeat what I've seen in the past. Oh. You know what I mean? So what helped me was Tony Hawk Pro Skater. The way he would kick his legs taught me pop shove it.
Satisfying.
It would go out, and I was like, oh, you got to literally kick out and kick forward. And it was like that visual that gave it to me, where I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, when I get to a trick, I guess I'm more like, I don't know, I let what just happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what would be really crummy is if we all did it the same way. You know what I mean? What a bummer to not be diverse in the way that it happens.
The fact that you can see an avatar, I haven't thought about that. The way you were visualizing it with your fingers, it's like, I haven't thought about that since I did it with Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I literally I saw the character doing the trick.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and for me, I practice a lot. Like, if I listen to an audiobook, I'm obsessed with, because I'm at some point going to write, some awesome action comedy movies and star in them, because it's just my next step of what I'll do.
You've learned, I think, at least enough about behind the scenes, this business, that it's got to be such an upper hand.
Oh, yeah. Well, and what's cool about it, too, though, is for me, I listen to almost obsessively, I listen to Sherlock Holmes, the classic 56 short stories.
Totally.
And the 4 novels or whatever. And
I'm more of a Watson
will,
guy.
Dude, love it. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Nobody ever.
I love that. Well, here's the thing, though. Without Watson, you don't have anyone writing a book. Here's the thing. The truth is, had Sherlock Holmes been like, so I was on a case one time, and like somebody sent somebody like a couple of ears in a box, and I was able to figure out. So this is what I did. You'd be like, well, that's douchey. Watson's like, hey, my
why are you bragging
homie's
about
awesome. Listen to this. This dude shows up. He doesn't know anything. He gets 5 clues. He talks to a cop who doesn't know anything. He then thinks about it. He visualizes, and then he comes back and he has the answer to, you know how cool he is? Like,
You're totally, he's his wingman.
He's the hype man. Yeah.
That's so true.
But
there is no. It just comes off totally different from him, from Sherlock doing it, but your boy being like, have you seen what my guy's been doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think all that to say, we do need that. I mean, I've been doing a documentary with the Dern brothers about this new video part, which I'm psyched to kind of get that out.
Seeing them filming at the premiere,
that
was really cool.
Yeah,
being like, whoa, you got like the Dern brothers on this. This is heavy,
dude. Destin's rad, by the way.
Yeah.
He freaking came to my Willie Santos helped me set up a premiere in San Diego, and I was like, when you do a premiere by yourself, it's not like a full video. Because listen, if you have a team, you're already on a team. It's just reputable. Like, oh man, you're on Zero. The Zero team's gonna be.
There's a brand.
Even if, like, let's say no one's your fan, guess what? Tommy Sandoval or freaking
100%.
Whoever, Jamie Thomas's fans are going to be there, where it looks like,
like
your
a festival
fans
versus like a single performance.
Yeah. And so showing up at that premiere, I was like, maybe no one comes. Like, no one has seen, because here's the thing, this new video part is on a different scale than my other stuff, and I haven't released one in a while.
Production
so I was like,
wise and all
nobody knows that, like, I've tried to go this hard in the paint with this thing, and so it's like before, and like however much PR one can do about it for an individual part, who knows how that even works. So when Destin showed up with Gareth Stair, I was like, dude, you're awesome. Like, I didn't even know. That's before that moment. And this is embarrassing to not have more knowledge. I didn't know what the Dern brothers was before that.
Totally.
Which is such a bummer on me to not be in the know. And because dude, we were watching all of their.
Then you don't have to fanboy like I did, where I was like, hey man, I've watched everything.
Well, here's the thing though. There's something so relatable about him and his 2 brothers making jokes, being funny. None of them are too cool. None of them are too serious. And by the way, then they'll rip the spot to pieces after they talk about it. That's their connection, by the way. There's a bunch of guys who are like, hey, we're at the barracks, like, here's the top 5 coolest trick, where you're like, no offense, but you want the everyman. You're like, no, I want to see every trick that some hometown dude put his heart into. I want to see that also. And those guys are like that.
Hearing their stories on it, hearing their experiences. I try to... So, like, in my little spot locator thing, I really do try to put my experience even. I'll say, like, I had a neighbor yell at me. Maybe just try to avoid that. Don't park in this spot. Move over here.
It's so helpful.
It makes it more personal.
Yeah.
And, like, the Dern brothers capturing what they have, and it's like historians. Like, skateboarding needs that.
Yeah, and they're
Because if we don't do it, other people aren't.
no,
you know?
well, no one will care. And here's the thing: to us, it's that important. To treat it that important, it is that important.
Yeah.
Therefore, just put in the extra work. And what's even cooler is, if you know, Destin will deep dive and try to find every dude, even filmed on a potato, that went down that thing. And then you know what else they say? They're always like, "Hey, man, if we miss anything, please leave in the comments below. Let us know." Like, they're as interested. And he's the thing: he's personally interested. He's like, "I want to know everything that went down. Like, I'm psyched to know
that honest
level,
curiosity where you can tell it's coming from the person. It's not like a script. It's not like for likes. It's not any of that kind of stuff. And that's what I mean, that kind of dedication to skateboarding is very cool. I love that.
It's very cool. And I so thankful that he was like, because when the bear, like, I had this whole, doesn't matter, debacle with Thrasher, making me, you know, like, try to wait for a song and then me change songs and then them say, okay. Two years went by, and at the end they were like, "Hey, man, sorry, we're just not
the
gonna."
music part of it is such a
They were like, by the end, they're like, "We brought you up as an example of us putting in too much time into someone's video part," and then I was like, "Wow, that hurts my feelings." But okay, so when I told Destin about that, whatever, and trying to release it other places that just almost made sense, but then didn't, that I went, dude, you know, like and he's like, "Well, I'll release your part if you really want," and. He's like, we can, you know, like, we've been making this video with you already, but we could just make a documentary about the making of and your backstory or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just be ballooned into this really cool thing that, like, if you're ever going to have allies.
It's a full capture.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, like, where he was like, wait, that clip went viral? I was like, well, yeah, I guess technically. Where we started going on a list of all the spots of crazy stuff that, like, on the internet had just done really well. He's like, well, we should just talk about all that stuff too. So it became this. But my point is
because thousands of people have watched these tricks and clips at these spots.
Yeah, and the fact that he was like, dude, because it was just like fortuitous that he could come to Denver. Because I told him last minute, like, oh, I forgot, I'm gonna go to this premiere. My brother set it up for me and helped me. This is what I got. And he's like, whatever, I'll come with you. Where it was amazing. But it's one of those things where the documentary has taken off because he's like just so dedicated. Like, we should go to that spot. We should go to this spot.
Wow.
Where he's made it so awesome, dude. I can't say
it's
enough
almost
good
like
stuff about him.
He's like directing. He's like producing. Like,
yeah,
he's
and
creating
for me,
something with you.
I'll pitch stuff out there and be like, hey, just so you know, this one, like, there was this sequence, I don't know, it became a GIF on Apple for a long time, but it's, I ride up underneath a basketball goal, I reach up, I do a backflip kind of back to my board, and he was like, I remember that. Yeah, you could tile in skateboarding on the GIFs on Apple and it would just show up first thing. It was like one of the top. And so we went down the list and found other ones. Well, funny enough, Roman Chavez shot it, but when we were there at those, they're like butter benches at this school, that everyone was like, I was doing it and everyone's like, oh, we got to get out of here. And no one wanted to film it. People were like, that's not a trick. We're not going to film it. And just because like there's only a sequence of it exists, that the sequence went viral.
Yeah.
And so we went there, and I was like, and he's like, maybe you should just film one. And I was like, yeah, just so it's on film
so
one
you
time.
have it, yeah.
But we did all that stuff, and I might even stop by. I don't know if you remember this one, but I pop my board up and throw it into a tunnel, and it comes back to me.
Okay, yeah.
But that one did really well, and ended up in the back of like the heroin video, like in the credits or something. And I was like, anyway, I might stop by Arizona and do a quick talk about that. Again. But just individual clips that have done really well for me.
Yeah,
that he's
revisit those.
That he's like, dude, this documentary should just build up and then be about your current video part. And so like, cool. So I'm excited about that at least.
Dude, so is this premiering? When? I guess you're still making everything. So
I would say so.
Is there a goal? I guess.
He and I are like, I don't know, next couple months.
I don't think people look at a painting and know exactly when it's going to be done.
Yeah, and for me,
what I heard is that it's really, when you're making something like that, it's not what else can you fit into it. It's like, what can you not have excluded? Mm-hmm. What needs to be in there?
Yeah. And it is a nice sort of narrowing down. And I mean, I would say realistically, I need like 2 of my enders. One of them's in this rooftop in Hollywood where I flip from one roof to the next.
We were doing a whole like breakdown of like, because the tree is different in one of the sequences, and we were wondering like, okay, so was it like this was moved? Was it that this tree got cut down? It was like the camera angle was different or something like that, and we were like getting all dissecting.
That's awesome.
That's a sick shot. Over the gap down to the lower layer, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
you need flip? You need it's a gainer.
Oh, okay.
It's a running backflip.
Okay.
But yeah, But what's cool?
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, you go backwards.
Yeah,
with
you
it.
run for it, but you flip
yeah.
backwards. Because I was thinking people have done that recently, right? Where I started that whole flip game, like started it, right? And then the credit of it is never no one's like, oh, that's a William Smith. Like no one ever named it, right? None of that stuff, which is interesting because there's a certain point in skateboarding where people invented stuff. It got named after them, or they named it, or whatever.
Caballero, or
yeah.
No,
and there's a
totally
certain point where like, oh, we just don't name stuff anymore, or whatever. That people would hit me up and be like, hey, we're doing this job. There's, we're trying to figure out an interesting, cool skateboarder. It's you or this other guy that does flips onto his board. And I was like, what? I'm like, you realize like I did it at like no one had done it and then I did it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like me and him were racing.
No.
I'm like, that's so sucky that I haven't made a name for myself that you don't just pick the guy
that did it.
Created it. 100%. And it's not like I did it down a two. Do you know what I mean?
No, 100%.
So this new video
it also isn't a clip or two clips. It's also it's your style.
Yeah.
It is something you built and crafted.
Yeah. Boy, did I take a long time too. You know what I mean? It just takes a long time to land some of that stuff.
And so, you do want it to be when somebody thinks of that, they think of you.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make a video part, and if you want to copy it and not give me any credit, good luck. Like, because not in like a spiteful way, but in a like, I guess I'm not trying hard enough. If it's me and some other random person
You're
at a
holding
skate
yourself
park.
accountable. You're doing the hard-working shit where you're like, fuck, I guess I got to go grind another 30 years.
Yeah, that I was like, okay, like
takes.
if you don't remember me, I guess I'll just do my style the best I possibly can so that you remember at least that it's, because when you create something, you just want to be proud of it and then have people go, yeah, that's who did it. You don't want to go, oh, I don't remember who it was. You're like, I didn't do it very well then.
100%.
I guess I didn't go hard enough. So
no.
That's why, anyway, I'm going to go to that spot. I'm going to go to the hippie jump front flip spot that's all the way out by Palm Springs or something. I actually discovered on the way back from working on that Tenet movie, the Christopher Nolan movie where everything is backwards. I was like on that movie doing stunt work, driving back into LA, and I was like, man, I gotta find a spot for this trick that's gonna work. I've tried 4 or 5 other places.
So you've got an idea for this trick, and you're trying to find the puzzle piece for it.
Because I had tried the front flip hippie jump so many times, and there was never enough time in the air for me to come back down and see my board.
Like with the large white pillars, right, where you go over the.
That is where I popsicled myself so bad that I broke the skateboard.
Yeah.
But that's where I first started doing it.
Okay.
And by the end, I ended up out in Palm Springs because there's a tabletop where your board flies off and hopefully doesn't, land primo.
Yeah.
And there's enough time for you to flip, and it's still in the air, and it's falling away from you, so you can finish your flip and see it before it hits the ground. Yeah.
Oh,
you need your board to fall, because I was going up to level and flipping, and every time I would come down, it would just shoot out because I couldn't see it. I couldn't, not with a front flip.
No,
anyway.
but you need the time.
Yeah,
the gap.
You literally, even though it's scary, you do need the time for it to fall away from you.
So much scarier.
Yeah, I did not like it. I was like,
and then the board was up. Mm-hmm. That exact board, right? You had up on display during the premiere from that trick.
Yeah, I was stoked. But yeah, I did a premiere with my friends who own. It's Team Tempest, and they own all these parkour gyms, and they've been my friends for years. That I said, wait, am I doing this right? Like, I've been trying to be core skateboarding this whole time. I don't really fit in there, and so I had enough time between my last video part and this one. I said, why don't I just go where people are psyched?
Yeah, no.
Not where like, all right, the sickest like guy who's not sure if he likes your style. Why present people like, hey man, you want a new Ferrari or you want a whatever? And they're like, no, I just don't like them. They're rad. I think it's cool. Oh, I couldn't do that. I also don't care. That I was like, well, these guys do flips and it's way closer to what I'm doing.
And they're hyped and they're fun.
But dude, they set up this whole space for me to do a premiere, and I then did displays with like some of the clothes, like some of the jackets, some of the props, some of the shoes, and had this whole rad like freaking
people. I mean, that's interesting. The shoes, I couldn't even think, but yeah, you want to see like the character that's been built into those things.
Yeah, and I like the gainer trick and then the front flip hippie jump. I had gone somewhere so many times to do it that I was like, hey, by the end of this video part, I want it to be uniforms where I want this like just one piece freaking burgundy outfit that's like kind of like, when like Goku goes Super Saiyan, that you're like, that's just the look. That's what he looks like. That I was like, by the end of this, I'm going to go and like, this is just my Ender outfit, And so I had all that stuff on display because, and I had multiple versions because I would just tear one or rip it to pieces or the pants would go out. And so I just different versions until I landed it.
Wow. It's like a redrawing of a cartoon character until they got it right. Yeah. You could see all the old, like what it took.
But it was cool to like put that much detail in. Where with the skateboard premiere, people were like, oh, "Okay, self-importance. We don't want to see your weird stuff that you." But it was really cool at Tempest. They were down. We had probably like 3 or 4 panels that were like plywood size, all posters of the tricks and everything.
Fuck, yeah.
It was best case scenario to make yourself feel good about putting in a bunch of work.
Yeah,
you know?
and those people understand. I mean, we know what it's like to land on a skateboard, but we have no clue what it's like to do a gainer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, where it's those guys.
And those people have fallen off of skateboards or whatever. They at least know skateboarding isn't easy.
Yeah, they're not thinking this is an easy thing. So the appreciation was so much higher there.
Yeah,
it was cool.
The level of respect and all that. Yeah, because skaters
felt
are
good. Yeah,
they're all very. I mean, it's like a wine community or
Yeah,
poetry or
indeed.
something, where
Indeed.
everybody is like it's like trends are a big deal, and
Yeah.
what isn't trendy is a whole big deal.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and
yeah, there's subsects of all those things of how serious you are about it, what it means, what it doesn't mean, what you
Yeah.
like, what you don't like. Oh,
and
that's
then there's
sick,
people
but I
that
don't like his outfit.
think
You're like,
taking it seriously is the wrong thing, and
Yeah.
other people think not taking. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it could be that like,
Yeah.
basic.
Well, and now, what I feel like was the compass for skateboarding back in the day, now you can have the dude with the just craziest pants you've ever seen, shoelaces that are like toe box to death, tight as shoes,
Vaping on like a giant mod box,
just like pink and purple, but
silly
also eye
glasses.
makeup, and then rips.
yeah.
That's the sickest thing. You're like, that dude is wearing some sort of, he's got like furry
They
gloves
look
on.
like it's like Little Nas X is like skateboarding practically.
Yeah, and
with
so
the-
I get happy because when I just had different color grip and stuff back in the day, people are like, "That is whack. What's happening?" And now you can't have crazy enough grip. They're like, "That's all you're gonna do to your board?" You're like, "I guess."
That's
it
so true.
is.
You don't even have that cut into any pieces.
Yeah, there's no weird carvings in it, huh? You're like, "Yeah, it's just black." But yeah, it like kind of makes me laugh at all that stuff. But that's why.
It's more about like fashion has become a huge part of it.
Yeah, truly.
And not style as far as skateboarding, but literally
Truly the fashion, and the 90s are back. And I remember
yeah.
the first time it was going
The baggy
around,
pants.
my brother was like making pants bigger. He would cut them and then try to make them bigger. And as a kid, I was like, rad, I couldn't imagine it myself. But I was like, that's what he's into. That's sick. But when it came back around, I was like, that's so crazy that the internet, you have all these ideas, you have all these cultures mixing. You have like Netflix where now they'll put on Korean movies, English movies, every movie from everywhere, where people are mixing and still be like, no. None of these crazy cool styles from Japan or China. Let's not mix in Malaysia or Bali. Let's just go for 90s pants that are terrible. I'm like, really? Like, you could mix anything.
1,000 pockets.
Dude,
and-
you could mix anything you want, and you're like, nope, Jinkos. You're like, wow, though. Like, you had all these choices from the internet. You can order it tomorrow on Amazon. They're like, no, 90s pants. Terrible. Let's go.
I saw FUBU and like just recently somebody was repping it. And I was like, you obviously like were so stoked to find those at whatever thrift store. And
I'm just,
It is
because...
a-
when
it
there's
is
so many
interesting.
choices, like you could, like if someone dressed like space, you're like, yeah, I'm an alien from space. I'd be like, I'd rather see that.
Yeah.
Than you redoing something that didn't look good in the first place. And a lot of times with skateboarding, people are like, well, skateboarding's so cool that you can have crappy fashion and whatever. And if you rip, it's fine. You're like, oh, you can have the worst pants ever. As long as you rip, it's awesome. But you're like, I'm going to stop you there and say this. Picture James Dean in your mind. He just has a white t-shirt and pants that fit him, right? And you're like, rad. Like, that doesn't
look.
not work.
Yeah.
It doesn't, no matter what time period, squint your eyes, he doesn't not work.
Yeah, Dylan Ryder is that
Yeah.
that's part of it where it's like Dean,
Yeah.
you know.
You're like, just, all I'm saying is, like, if you needed a default and not look old and not look too young, and you were just like, I just want to look like a person with legs that skateboards, done.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like skinny jeans are out and we're stuck in 2006.
Well, what's crazy is, like,
Because I'll never give up.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
never
and I
give
just
up.
pick pants, though, that fit my legs.
Yeah, but it does feel skinny now that they're like
Yeah.
every other pant is so massive.
True. No,
You know what I mean?
indeed.
They're not,
I'm
like,
sorry.
dragging.
You're totally right. But when I look at my pants too, I can't, because I'm like, well, I just want it to be the shape of like pretty much,
Your
like
leg.
when you look at me, you go, oh, that's the size of his legs under
Yeah.
there. That's all. I'm not trying to go, oh, my legs are 3 times as big as this. I'm like, what would that do?
Even the look of like those shoes back then when they were all giant and poofy. I don't know how anybody
Fascinating.
stayed in those.
Dude, we watched, it's funny, we watched
those Etnies and
Consider the
stuff?
Odds the other day, which is a Mark Spencer made. He made Retina. He made a bunch. He's awesome. Anyway, that time period, especially Micah Hollinger, if you know who that is, the technical tricks he's pulling off, and in those shoes,
Yeah.
I just was like, dude, it's like you aired up marshmallows and put a sole on them, and we're like, let's skate these. And
It's
see
it's
what
like
we
skateboarding
do.
on like pillows or something.
It's so incredible.
Yeah, or
'cause
clogs.
my brother used to give him hand me down, the Costins, and then they would cut out a tongue of a shoe and put it behind the tongue. And I remember like in gym class running, and then my tongue would fly out, and everyone's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I can't explain. It's just really cool."
Yeah, this is just
Right.
what we do right now.
Yeah, I'm like, all right. Anyway,
I'll never give up on like the shoelace belt.
No, yeah. And if I ever found a more comfy one, I would do that, but I never do.
Yeah.
And you never get that thing where your belt buckle just rips your belly hair out.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, the only one I have this one right now because it's got a beer opener on the bottom.
That's sick. That's actually super sick. Wow.
Yeah, and I feel weird when I wear like DC's and then a Vans belt, but whatever.
Hey, we call that cross dressing. You're like, William, that's not what cross dressing is. Yeah, I know. I don't know. It sounded right. I was gonna tell you quickly.
Yes.
The Michigan mission happened. I get back. I then try to go to community college up in Love and Fort Collins. I'm still living with my parents when I come back from, and I went to college for 3 years. I was like, if I'm going to pay you a bunch of money and then you're going to make me take a bunch of classes that I can't figure out why they're relevant. I don't know. I just say so. I'm like, because you say so never worked for me.
No.
That I literally kind of was like, wow, I don't think I'm going to finish. I don't think I can do it. And so I was literally like, what else do I do?
Yeah.
My brother is awesome. He's always inspired me. Maybe I'll just go and, live with him in Denver, get a job, see if I can skateboard with those guys. And that just started the journey towards like just being around him filming video parts, which he was already filming the Advocate video with Mark Spencer and those guys. He was filming Burning Daylight. That I just jumped on those missions and was like,
You were just in the van hanging out kind of things.
yeah. And over time, I was so obsessed with wanting to not be a nobody and just not do anything with my life that I was like, this is the only thing that right now I'm have any motivation for. I guess I'll just try.
Well, also you're doing something new. You're standing out while everybody's throwing down and you're trying to prove that you can do this too.
Yeah.
You're doing something that nobody's ever seen before. You're like,
yeah, and they're like, and I talked this about Jared Suits about this with Jared Suits the other day on an interview for the documentary, and he was like, yeah, you showed up and we had no idea what you were doing, but we just knew there was enough hijinks that we were going to film it anyways.
yeah, totally. It was at least it was more interesting than anything else.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know what you were up to.
Interesting.
But we just wanted to see what would happen.
Well, and
which
it
I
sounds
think
like
is-
you were at that point where you needed to stand out, where you were like, I need to prove something.
Yeah, because I had spent all this time watching my brothers be good at stuff. My other brother was an airline pilot. He's just that smart. I was like, at some point, I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
These guys are crushing it. Like, what do I even do? And I think I just grabbed the closest thing that was like in reach that felt like a little bit relevant.
So from Fort Collins to Denver, how old are you when you moved down here?
Man, so I was probably 3 years out of 2 or 3 years out of high school. Yeah.
Okay, so 20s.
Yeah, early 20s. Yeah.
Hell
Early
yeah.
20s, yeah.
And so you're full of energy. And what, I guess, was your first part then in that? Was that the Denver shop?
So no, believe it or not, it was the Advocate video. My brother was already filming for Burning Daylight.
Oh, wow. So you were just around enough to start getting clips in.
I was just on sessions,
Yeah.
lurking, waiting for people to get tired, waiting for people to be over it, waiting for someone's feet. My heel hurts to be like, hey, can I get a quick? And they're like, what are you even going to do? I'm like, I'm going to jump between. They're like, don't tell me. Just, you know what? Don't tell me. And for me, what's crazy is because I spent so much time, my brothers moved away. Bennett was in boarding school up here in Colorado. Shad had already moved he moved up to the mountains with his friends, the Registers, first in 11th grade, and then just was like, I'm not going to go to high school anymore. I'm
was
gonna skate.
decided.
I'm sorry. So I didn't have any of that influence. I spent a bunch of time by myself. So by the time I was like skateboarding and like trying to film stuff, it was just an amalgamation of stuff that I was like, well, I've been by myself for a long time. I don't know, it might be cool. That I was like surprised because I saw skateboard videos and saw a bunch of stuff that just wasn't being done.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's weird. You just, nobody does that. Like no one. And you know, you'd scour and be like, all right, let me watch this video. Well, let me watch that. Maybe some, and then I'd be like, no one's done it. Okay.
What were your inspirations then at this point? Like, I mean, obviously Rodney Mullen's doing things, and we've had like Daywan's put all his parts out. But like, were there people that you were watching even in town that were doing that kind of stuff, or was it really?
No, it was all in my mind. And the only person I thought was really charismatic was Jeremy Klein.
Okay, interesting.
You know?
Yeah,
remember his like he had like button-up shirts that were like short sleeve. He would like just in schoolyards would just get down a biz in his style, like pushing up to stuff. You know, I was like, that dude rules. I remember I had a picture of him olling this chair in a schoolyard on my wall at one point. He was just the most. He reminded me kind of Jim Carrey a little bit, but on a skateboard. But no, I'm not like that. My brain makes connections between things that I see only. Like no one is like, because I watched like I remember, this is hilarious. One of my big inspirations was I borrowed from my friend Paul when we were kids. He was into martial arts a little bit. We'd train together a little bit. He had a VHS tape, not of kung fu movies, all trailers to kung fu movies. So I watched like the Bruce Lee before he died, and then Bruce Lee,
wow,
like all the knockoff versions of him, and then into Jackie movies and like all the Shaolin movies, all the freaking Drunken Master, so I had all that in my head that I was like, well, whatever, I'll just use some of it over here.
Wow.
And no one was like, all right, William, don't do that. I was like, skateboarding was if you watch the time period where I came up in, everyone's like, whatever, we're just trying to do some cool stuff. Let's not go too crazy. And the years that me and Richie Jackson because I don't know if mine was first or which part was first, but around that time period, I think we both just felt like, oh man, it's like not stuffy in here, but I think we could add a little bit of flavor on the edges, like stuff that's like, oh, why not? I've literally never seen anyone do it. It might be cool. But it was an uphill battle filming with everyone because they were like, hey, man, we don't know you. We're not sure how good you are at skateboarding. And we're not.
You're doing something totally different.
Parkour doesn't exist yet. Yeah. I don't have here's the thing. And if it does.
Insane, dude.
What's crazy is if it does, I barely had a Nokia phone where you had to. That my parents made me get. Because before that, I never had a phone in high school. I didn't have a car. I didn't feel like it until in fact, I didn't get a car until I was 18 when my parents were like, well, if you're going to drive to Arizona to help out at the school, I'm not going to drive you there. So I literally went from like having no car and no phone to having a phone and a car.
Complete freedom.
Just to drive down there. And I was like, never used it. My parents were like, hey, you have a phone. You never call us. I'm like, how do you talk? I don't know.
Going through a tunnel.
Is it working yeah. But yeah, dude, it was one of those things that was like, I just know that looking back, I didn't have a computer to look up parkour or YouTube or whatever. I don't even know if it existed then. That people are always like, yeah, that's sick. You combine those parkour and skateboarding. I'm like, what it did was my brother could do flips, then I could do flips, and then I love just like, dude, at my senior graduation, yeah, totally. I love kung fu moves, and then I did a flip off the stage at graduation.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have that footage?
No, definitely not. If someone does, I don't know. But I was in a gown or whatever. But I was like,
that's it. That's awesome.
But I just didn't. That's the thing is I didn't snow. I was like looking down on myself like, I don't really skate. I don't really snowboard. But I was practicing snowboard flips and stuff. So if I ever went to the mountain, I could do it. But that became its own thing. And so by the end of it, it's crazy to be like, that's so cool. You invented mixing those. And I was like, it's crazier than that you didn't know it existed. Because when my first video part for Denver Shop Colorado came out and did well on YouTube, that my roommate one day I was like in a stunt show with, I had already moved out to California. I was living on his couch.
Seriously. So when that came out, you were already doing stunt work.
Oh yeah, because I was going back and forth because I would get out to California too intimidated to be like, I know, I'll look up a bunch of of the girl dudes and see if they want to skate, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Of course
I just
not.
stayed in my zone, tried to do some stunt training with those guys, and was too intimidated and too self-conscious to be like, hey, you guys want to watch me do a flip onto this? But no, you know what I mean? I just couldn't at that point. Yeah. But he pulls me into his room one day. He's like, William, look at this. And I was like, look what your video did on YouTube. And I was like,
What's YouTube?
I was like, yeah, one, what is it? Two, he's like, look, this one already has like, it looks like it's not been up that long. This one has like, I don't know, 1.5 million. I'm like, and I remember being like, hey man, but aren't there 1.5 million people online? He's like isn't total. That just, but I was like, but isn't that just how many people are there? He's like, you know what?
That's not what this is.
He's like, just wait. And he like scrolls down to another video. He's like, you see this video? It has a 300 views. I was like, but it's not skateboarding. He's like, okay, I'll show you a skateboard video. Okay. And sure enough, that also had 300. And I was like,
for sure, because this is early YouTube.
I was like, oh, but it blew my mind that, I mean, I didn't own a computer for years, and I certainly didn't have a computer on my phone for many years, that the whole parkour thing just washed over. And it wasn't until later, one of my friends I did stunt work with said, hey, William, I know that you kind of parkour skate. And I was like, I do? He's like, well, don't worry about that part, but come be, MTV's doing the Ultimate Parkour Challenge. They're inviting over a bunch of epic dudes to have this contest. We want you to be a judge. And then I met people that were like my friend Daniel Abaka.
That's a whole scene.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of the Tempest dudes and Ben Jenks and all these guys that then were like, yeah, dude, you're William Spencer. And I was like, I am. What, like,
but that's
why do you know me?
You were hoping. I mean, literally, that's the thing. Is like at least people knew the tricks. People were able to say that's the guy that did that thing.
Yeah, that totally in that moment in time.
That's. I mean,
it's just crazy that stuff doesn't stick now.
Well,
that's all.
Well, of course, no. What I'm saying though is that's the goal.
Yeah,
like, that's the dream.
Yeah.
Is,
no,
like,
it was
to get
incredible.
That recognition.
Maybe not within skateboarding, but outside skateboarding for sure. They're like, we know your stuff. We thought you trained. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I remember them being like, well, come try this stuff with us. And then who ended up being my girlfriend at the time, the girl that was shooting photos, Emily Ibarra, she was shooting photos of the athletes, and she was watching me try what they were trying, and she just thought I was some intern from MTV. Like, oh, you're just here like trying this stuff.
Oh, really?
She just didn't know. She's like, oh, you're just trying this stuff out. And then later on, like, she was like, oh, wow, you really didn't train before now. And at that point,
see that you did it all yourself kind of thing?
Yeah, where it was like a hope and a prayer. Because when I saw Jackie Chan do stuff in movies, it looked like he was like, oh, God, I have to jump this gap. These guys are going to kill me. And then he jumped it one time and then never went back. I didn't think he would jump it more than once.
Yeah.
So I was just in that mentality where I would like, that's a lot of my freakouts in Colorado. There's a whole freakout section in the beginning because I went from being like, I don't really do this, but it's probably possible, to freaking out because I didn't have the skill, but I was like, I know I could probably do it.
Yeah.
And then screaming my way into trying it and then doing it the once where I didn't practice stuff much. I just was like, all right, if I don't die, this will be sick.
Yeah,
it was years later.
Because you have nobody to tell you this is possible. You have nobody to say, why don't you try it this way?
No, I had never
seen... There's no guidance of like, oh, do your right foot before your left foot.
Or your stride should be this far apart.
Yeah.
If you want to jump this far, this is standard. 11 feet is perfect for none of it. I was like, okay. That when they started gaming me up, like in the intro, I didn't realize this, I forgot about it, but in the intro to Burning Daylight, my first video part, I'm on top of this pretty tall box and I jump down to the skinny pole and just land on it.
Oh.
And like
just stall.
And someone was like, one of the parkourers was like, dude, I wouldn't even do that. And I was like, you saying that means I shouldn't have tried it.
Yeah.
Because I had but those guys know exactly how to land and where to land. I trained a lot of that stuff with them later on rooftops in Liverpool.
They're wearing shoes built for it and all that stuff. You're just wearing whatever.
Yeah, I'm wearing some sweet, delicious, I don't know what's. Like maybe like Circas or something. But yeah, it was cool to get gamed up by guys who knew about it, get some technique from them to just not die and develop. That's when my friend Daniel Abaka was like, well, listen, dude, I can backflip here. I can backflip in a tiny, because I've mastered it here. I can do it on a rooftop right now, like on the edge. And that part of mastery blew my mind because I was just getting away with stuff. Because you watch other people, they land the trick down the set one time and they call it a day.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I filmed it. I'm out of here.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, like, I'm not trying to die.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, drilling stuff for me is really important where had I been as good as I am now from practice, and by good, I mean just by the years of, like, try, fail. But me now, I'm as good as people thought I was when I had that interview in Thrasher.
Interesting.
Like me now, if you were like, all right, William, let's go to Civic. How close you? Yeah, I could. I will go try that trick right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Feel
there
like
was
right
years I couldn't. I would have been like, yeah, whatever. I'll probably get smoked if I tried it because
Yeah.
I was playing Everyman. I was playing Indiana Jones, where you see him barely make it.
now. Yeah, you're just shooting it.
I was
hoping.
like, I can front flip. I can jump on a skateboards. This math is simple, but it probably won't work.
Yeah,
that's all
crazy.
I was doing.
That's like, I mean, that is what, like, you see a staircase, and as a skater, you're like, I can kickflip.
Yeah.
Maybe I can kickflip down this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's no more complex in the thought process of the build-up.
But those
I mean,
types of skills need the actual crafting.
They
like the
sure
honing
do.
in,
They
like the back.
sure do.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I just never had any of that. And then over these years, I've circumvented and worked my way backwards into being that good and being that consistent. Flipping here, flipping there, flipping, like mentally understanding
Those
how
types
far
of-
I can jump and how far I can't jump and how far, you know.
And those tricks need that consistency. You know what I mean?
Because even
Like,
when I do that, dude, sometimes like it won't matter what I do. You'll be like, I'll either land at this first try because I'll go for stuff now. That's the thing. Back then, I couldn't make myself go for stuff. I was too scared because I didn't. I had never built up
didn't have the confidence.
I'd never done a one stair. I just went whatever. I can flip. I can jump on a skateboard. I'll just do 10. You're like, oh, and no one was ever like, all right, William, are you sure? Like maybe start down to 5. Never. No one
Yeah.
ever said that I didn't know. I was like, fine, I'll try down 10 then. And like, if I were me now, I'd be like, hey man, I have a question. Have you done 5?
Yeah.
Have you done just half that?
Have you built up to this?
Can you do it on flat? Like, have you ever just jumped off a curb and tried it? Like, but me now, I build all the way up so that in my new video part, there's some stuff that I get up to that I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do that again. But if I had to, I could build my way back into it. I understand how to like not die in the process, which is cool.
I mean, it's like a mature way of looking at accomplishing something.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not just going to shoot my shot and hope for the best. I'm actually going to have a strategy behind it.
Well, and it has a lot too for me going back to the martial arts, like, because that always got in my head as a kid, is mastering things is different. Like, you can own something, you can be good at something, but mastering something is an entirely different level.
Totally.
Like, where you're literally like, no, I could do it now.
Yeah, because skate tricks aren't, I mean, it is
Sure,
that to
it's
a
a
degree.
gamble at some point,
Yeah.
but if you're good at something, your confidence is much higher because you're like, I've literally done this so many times, I find it hard to fail.
100%.
That's when you know you haven't done it enough. If you don't find it hard to fail, it's not enough, period. It's just not enough. You haven't done it enough. Because, dude, me now, consistency-wise stuff that you're like, hey, I need you to do da-da-da, like, especially on a big movie set, if they go, you have 3 tries, that pressure, I'm like, oh, okay, 3 tries. You let me go out to a park by myself with my friends, 100 tries later, no one's going to stop me from not doing that.
Exactly.
But that pressure is what helps me. But I'll practice
for those
into
types
that pressure.
of situations. Like a film set when everybody's like, now, and you have to do it.
It makes you get all the wiggles of like, oh, I don't know, maybe, what if my back foot? It's rad because it actually just pushes you up to where you want to be usually.
Yeah.
For me, not everyone likes that much pressure.
Yeah.
Some people, you give them no pressure. They're like, oh, I'll just land it now for myself. And my friend Daniel's like that. Dude, we were climbing down this building. We'd been on top of this parking garage just like jumping off. And I was like, ooh, that's if we miss, we die. He's like, yeah, but if watch this. And he would just jump on the ground the exact distance and then stand on the ledge and do it. And understanding that, oh, yeah, that's true. If you just shut your brain off, you'll make it. But, dude, we were climbing down from there, and it's called a palm flip. You stand really close to a wall, and instead of backflipping, you jump up, and then you push off the wall.
Okay.
And that's what makes you backflip. And somehow you don't hit
with
the back of your head.
hands.
Dude, he did it. It was dark, and there was rain everywhere, and there might have been a puddle on the ground, and he was probably 40 feet up, and he's like, if I can do it on the ground, William, I can do it right here because I practiced enough.
Yeah.
And so that got in my head. So years later, I'll just drill stuff.
There's something to acting like you've been there before. Like the whole, I know this. I can do this. That confidence. It not only like helps you act like a normal person and get more shit done, but also those tricks walking into it more confidently. I mean, I feel that way about stand-up where it's like your first
Don't get me started
20
on that.
times on
Do you do
stage.
that quite a bit?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know, I live right by the Laugh Factory or whatever it
In
is.
LA, yeah.
Not very far. And then there's the comedy club.
The Comedy Store.
That's
I imagine
right.
is-
Like, I drive past it all the time, and I'm like,
All the
dude,
names
one of
outside
these
written on the-
days, just walk in there. Because, dude, just getting that over with. Because for me, public speaking, no big deal. Like, ask me a question, I'll tell you right now.
I thought you did great at the interview. You were taking questions and stuff.
Oh, thanks.
Like, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
because it is like some people, especially skaters, like that's not their
indeed,
thing.
it's not. They feel like it's not part of the program,
Yeah.
right? It's not. Well, in America especially, it's weird because it's inundated with cowboy culture, but on a low level. But no, we're not that. Like, we're really smart. You're like, oh yeah, say a sentence that makes sense. That's eloquent.
Yeah.
And then you find out, no, you don't actually value it. You just, I don't know, I said what I meant, see you. You're like, fine, but that's different than someone when you listen to them speak that you enjoy them talking.
Oh, totally.
You
Yeah.
know?
And they're actually listening to the person. And
And the person's not going, oh, let me speed up the story for you. So, because people are always worried, like, oh, I don't want it to take too long. You're like, trust me, if it's a good story, we want the details. You know?
There was a joke that you did even where you were like, you're like, I mean, it's not my exact type of autism, but I do love, and like, I thought I was like, that was so funny. Yeah.
Oh, rad.
Doing little jokes. Like, that's what I think people love about, I mean, at least the era of skateboarding I got into was like some kind of fun and the personality.
The comedy of it, yeah.
And I do love.
That's cool you do that. Wow.
Yeah, stand up.
Hey, what made you get into it?
It's failing at skateboarding hurts a lot more. Failing on stage, I can fail at that. I can go sit down and be like, all right, well, next time I could do that a lot better.
That's sick that you have that, because for me, that amount of like, and maybe it's people pleasing, maybe it's, you know, other like psychological things that I've set up, but being uninteresting or telling jokes that you feel like don't hit with people or whatever, like it would probably hurt my feelings as much as.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool though, because all I've wanted to do, and I've even done this. Listen, this is my pre-speech. I'm like, listen, if all of a sudden somebody goes like, hey, it's open mic night, you obviously, because in LA, dude, by the way, if you ever want to get into acting, because for me, I'm like, I've done it where I've, written, directed all the things. I've been starred in short films and produced all of them, action comedy like Jackie. And it's always one of those things where they go, William, if you were any more famous, we'd let you star in your own movie. We know that you're funny. We know that you're charismatic. You're not Keanu Reeves. We're really sorry.
Yeah, it's just that.
But they say stand-up is the way in usually. That
Really?
if acting-wise you go to straight acting auditions is not happening,
Yeah.
stand-up, they'll pick from stand-up comedians much more than they'll pick from just like, you can cry on film. That's cool.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But dude, I swear, my pre-speech is walking up there and being like, hey guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is my first time. What if I'm not funny at all and you just listen to some interesting stories? You just pretend like this is a bedtime story,
Yeah.
like as a backup plan to, if I'm not funny at all, I'll try to make it interesting,
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's a whole genre in itself.
Yeah, because people
Honestly,
do the story time pretty well.
Yeah,
you know?
and then you get 3 jokes in there, and it crushes way harder than any comedy set would.
Yeah. And you space them out nicely.
Yeah, because comedy sets, people are like, make me funny, or do some.
Well,
you
dude,
do
their
joke.
standards are so high. They're like, I just watched Eddie Murphy the other night.
Yeah.
Nate Bargatze, I just watched him. What do you got? You're like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you get Nige out here and then have me try to backflip the rail?
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to be impressive.
100%.
Like just the separation of those two things must be difficult.
Following
Expectations.
I just did Comedy Works a few weeks ago.
Did
and
you?
I
Good
followed,
job.
I followed a guy who's like a super pro. And
Wow.
the person that like afterwards kind of like does a lot of like the booking, she was like, what was that like? And I was like, I thought it was going to be fun because everybody was having fun. But following somebody who's clearly so much better than you, it's different. You know what I mean? They were like, well, we just saw what was funny. Now you have nothing to offer.
Yeah. No, and good job doing it anyway. Nate Bargatze does this where he'll be like, no matter what the audience is doing, he'll be like, I don't know, I just knew it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And like, even if he says something hilarious, he'll be like, and my wife, she's right. Probably headed towards divorce. And he's like just deadpan, where other people will laugh. Like
Yeah.
Pete Holmes. Like, what's
like,
rad about him? He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, I do.
He's laughing at his own stuff.
But in certain people, if they laugh at their own stuff, you're like, ugh. Other people, if they laugh at their own stuff, you're like, that's rad.
There's a difference between a Burt Kreischer and a Pete Holmes.
It's rad that and Pete Holmes to me is smart enough. He's so intellectual.
Oh, yeah.
The layers of his jokes are big enough that if you didn't get the one part of it, he's like, whatever, it's still hilarious. Like if you really thought, like he's confident and he's thought about how funny it is. That even if you didn't like it, he'd be like, well, that's too bad. Maybe you should think about it more later. It'll probably come to you, and then you'll laugh.
Yeah,
and I like that confidence.
It is. Yeah,
it's cool. It's to be that, because comedy is one of those things you don't realize. Like people are always like, yeah, just be funny, but you're like, you don't realize that comedy is one of those things that translates well, right? Everyone can read a book and go, wow, that's a really good book. You could line up people on the sidewalk from here to over there, and you're going to realize not that many people can write that book. Yeah, it translates perfectly. Like saying something incredibly intelligent, that's what's so funny about it. And yet people can hear it, but they can't speak it.
Yeah.
They cannot speak it. They're like, yeah, I get what you said, but if I was to say something back, it would be nothing. You're like, wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's also something to being funny and having like comedy and comedic, and then stand-up is its own beast. Because you can be like...
The timing must be perfect. You must set yourself up. Yeah. For me, I'm much funnier if I talk to someone. They say something, I say something funny back, right?
Totally.
Totally in pace with the... But when you're going, so I was at my ex-wife's house, and boy, that's a lot.
Well, because it takes like this belief in yourself that I have the best thing in the room to say, and everyone needs to be listening to me.
Yeah.
And I do take that very seriously, where I'm like...
awesome.
When everyone's listening, I better be saying something up there that everybody's going to enjoy. Yeah. There's no reason for me to go up there and just like insult somebody or do something that like...
well, dude, and by the way, I noticed that, and not to overlap, but you know what's the least funny thing usually is a straight up in like making fun of someone. Because normally someone who's like truly well-rounded in life has seen all the perspectives and gets it is like, hey man, I think that's nuts. However, I see how you got there. Yeah, I would not have slapped him, but you did. Right? Where you're going, hey, man, no, honest mistake, right? Like, that's, you can't believe the layers of that instead of being like, yeah, those people kind of suck. Like, I just don't like them. I think you're like, it's crazy how much not as funny that is. And if you see those those comedians back to back, you're like,
it ruins the vibe.
Well, and you're like, it's crazy that you haven't thought about their perspective at all. Like, I don't know what you've been doing with your time, but not that. Like,
it's where that confidence turns into like jaded. Yeah. You know, where it's like a comic on stage saying, whatever, I'm getting paid regardless of how this goes. Yeah. Talk about anything less attractive. Or, I don't want to listen to you anymore.
Well, not only that, but you're like, you just like, you can't, when you have thought about life enough, you start to realize how close together everything is, how much you could have made that wrong choice and then you didn't and you're psyched, but also maybe tomorrow you will. That you just, the relatability, people more than anything want to relate. Relating is funny.
100%. That's what's so funny about, honestly, it's like why men are like this and women are like this, because everybody knows men and women. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, or observational humor, like Seinfeld, that kind of stuff of like, holy shit, I know what he's talking about. Yeah. I've been through that. When I tip and the barista doesn't see, I have to take it out of the jar, put it back in. And so they, you know, that whole feeling. Yeah.
You're like, hey, I know.
That relatability. I also think there's something too with stand-up where you can be funny and like in a group and where people really love you and friends and they like you already. It's so much more difficult to go up and these people don't know you and you have to win them over.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Do you know what I mean?
Dude,
they don't know me.
Where I live, I'm constantly having to re-audition. I'll be like, I'll show you, dude, I'll show you clip. They're like, just everywhere. Like even Woodward West, which I've now taught there for 3 years. And now they're like, hey, we're going to pay you to come out here. What? And they were like, I'm like, okay, thanks. Right. And certain people just go there for free because they're psyched that their sponsors probably like hook them up. They don't care. And they're like, I told the lady the other day, she's like, yeah, so our parkour sessions, so they only start at this time and the Dern Bros are going. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but I also skateboard. Like, have you seen any clips of me at all? And it's crazy.
Other thing?
The reselling yourself of like, I'm like, I'll send you my new, I mean, it's a private link. I'd like for you not to share it, right? But you can watch me skateboard in a way that I think I could teach children. It's crazy how much that one must do all the time that you like don't want to be egotistical. But I'm like, really? You just saw no clips ever? Like you didn't, like, do you want me to I'll like Google it for you? I don't know.
That's what it feels like is you have to Google it for people sometimes. That's crazy.
That like that re-auditioning for a long time I was burnt because I was like, dude, I'm going to audition for you. And like it happens, like I've met people that I'm like, hey, this is a direct in. You know this dude that made John Wick. You know this whatever. Yeah. You're asking me for an exact direct booking, which is usually super vague. I'm like, I didn't get this like off of this direct. I know you, and you could just call me. Yeah. And you're like, no, and I'm like, how many times do I have to audition? Like, can you just watch a bunch of footage of like short films I've made that are funny or interesting or cool? Can you not have me re-audition now? Like in this crummy,
yourself. It's like saying hello all
like, hey,
over again.
so like I know you start as this Bellman character, but you can be like a bad guy version of it, but you just die and get shot in the face in the first 5 minutes. I'm like, you want me to audition for that? For me to like,
did you see anything?
I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Like I'm like, and you can't do that, right? Because you must get your foot in anywhere you can.
Yes, and
same with
shit.
same
really
with
is.
auditioning, like same with rolling up to any club and be like, hey, I'm gonna be funny tonight, I hope.
Yeah.
And they're like, who the are you?
For real, and they look at your Instagram and they're like, well, I don't know about this many followers.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it's really like that kind of world.
Yeah.
But I do think you experiencing that in two different worlds, like you having that with skateboarding and having that in, because acting in Hollywood, like that seems so like brutal, the rejection in that kind of world.
Well, and here's
as much
the thing.
as you have accomplished, that means that you've been ejected 90 times. You know what I mean? Each one thing you get, that doesn't mean they said yes right when you walked up. That means that you went for 8 of them and then had to struggle through that one that actually worked, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't like you got it and they were like, yes. That means that you had to actually fight for it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Well, and dude, the skateboarding prepares you for it because you know how much failure goes into it. You're just constantly getting murdered, and you're like, I was scared. I got nothing. I didn't I didn't get it filmed. I got kicked out. Like just the
My ankle hurts
losing.
now.
Yeah. That you lose on a scale that I get used to that failure but at a certain point when you've built up your name and you've like really gone for it in a way that I'm like, so I want you to name 5 people on the planet that could do that. I just want you to go out and find them for me. If you can't, maybe we just let me do it, right? But instead it's not like they're like, well, I don't know, so-and-so, he's kind of cool. I'm like, that's not even in the, you know what? Okay, man. Like that's what you really want. But that's the hardest part is like building yourself up super far and then it not
selling
mattering.
yourself like it's Shark Tank where
Always.
you're like, please buy into this.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't believe, because I always thought if something was really delicious that you just don't have commercials for it because everyone's eating. Like,
Yeah,
the last time I saw it, they're like, hey, so we're gonna do these new commercials for Gravity in case you don't know it exists.
You
You'd
don't
be like,
see Rolls Royce commercials.
yeah, you're like, listen.
Yeah.
But that's it for me is I'm like, man, I must be doing it wrong that I'm continuing to sell myself this late in the game when I've like I could show you like, and I not in a cocky way, just a regular confidence. I've done this, 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 I've done this
it's
successfully. It's all there, and be like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I kind of like so and so. That's when you start producing. Because I always thought, man, Tom Cruise or whoever who's like, oh, you're the executive producer, you like made yourself look good. You're like, yeah. If you would like to not look like an absolute douche, I suggest producing your own movies. Because guess what? When they go, hey, Tom, what you want to do on the airplane's a little too dangerous, he goes, all right, you're fired. And I'm going to get a guy that's like, hey, Tom, that's pretty scary. I hope you make it.
Here's what we do to make sure it works.
Yeah, that's why, dude, anytime you're like, all right, if you want to come up, if you really want to come up and not climb a ladder of like, I got a guest star, and then I got one line in Alec McBeal. And that you will make a independent movie, that you create a character, you're like, that's an unforgettable, funny character, really charming, really whatever.
And
that's when you get in there.
You
but
get
by the
full
way,
say. Like you actually created
and you're also paying for it, and you're also in an alley by yourself.
And it's not like somebody said, yes,
yeah,
you can do this.
You cannot.
Nobody gave you permission. You actually doing it completely is a totally different product.
Yeah, because no one wants to, because everyone's like, yeah, man, I'll do a bunch of cool stuff if you just pay me.
Yeah.
And you're always like, and that's why it's hard to make independent movies too, because everyone around you is like, hey, no offense, I usually get paid this amount of that amount. Oh, you want me to come to the desert for how many days to do what? Oh, no money? Oh, and I'm always like, yeah, I get it. But skateboarding's not like that. Skateboarding's like, hey, come out for 6 days for nothing. I'll buy you a sandwich. Like, I'm in. It's like a different culture that you have to, like, between the two figure out.
That's what I meant by, like, when the fact that you've gone through the Hollywood, that side of it, that's a totally different world that I couldn't even imagine. Even comedy feels like a realer version of that, because I'm only like 10 degrees away from some of the greatest comedians in the world. The people I do shows with have done shows with pros. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not
it's not that big of a, surprisingly, not that big of a circuit
100%.
either. Not people that are actually good. It's like a skateboard, not people that are actually that good.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're only 8 people away from Andrew Reynolds at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
It is kind of like wild how it's not that large.
Yeah.
So if you can almost like find the right people
Yeah.
You know?
Or you're going, who's avoiding me? If there's only this many people to look at.
True.
How am I getting,
yeah.
are you just going like this? You're going, not this. Right?
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm one of those
You
people.
picked everybody, but.
Yeah, everybody but me, where I'm like, you could line up a bunch of people and be like, all right, William, you're in this room with all these talented people. And I'm like, yeah, they're more talented. But if you were really going, all right, who in this room is going to stay up all day and all night and try to kill themselves to make something impressive that people will love? And you would be like, some people like, yeah, maybe. Me, I'm like, okay, well, I'll,
Yeah.
right? The fact that people, but here's the thing, can you do commercials for that? I will try harder than everyone. Everyone who's more talented than me, I'll try harder than you until you're tired, you're scared, you're bored, and I'll keep going.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, we just don't really give out roles for that. You know?
Totally.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like
You
being
know?
the hard worker.
Yeah.
You know, it's being
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
version of your dad where it's like, I'm just gonna do it because that's what I fucking know how to do.
Yeah. And by the way, like that, like so thankful. Even though I hated working summers as a kid, if you were to look at what I've accomplished compared to people who are in my same bracket, it's only because my dad's level of work ethic was like,
Damn.
oh, let's just do more. You know?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, dude, there's so many more talented people than me in LA, but no one that's like, I'm going to go back there another 8 times. Like, there's tricks in this video part that I went back 14 times. That I was like, oh, I guess I'll just keep going back till it works. They're like, hey, you think you should switch tricks? And I was like, should I?
God damn, dude.
Should I? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I going to? Absolutely not. No. No, I'm not going to switch. No.
That's not the goal. The goal isn't to just like have an idea and then abandon that.
Yeah,
The
well, not
goal
only that.
is to do some shit that I've got in my mind.
Yeah,
I want to do
and
this.
people, you're like, yeah, there's 5 other guys that could be me and aren't me because they didn't keep
They
going.
didn't do it. Yeah.
Period. No other reason. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I could do that. I can do flips. I can land. I'm just not going to. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I will fight tooth and nail to the tiniest fraction of advantage that I have.
It's you screaming in the beginning of the Colorado, being like, "Do it, just fucking go, just do it."
Because
and
otherwise,
keep doing
dude,
it.
do you know how short our lives are?
Yeah.
To accomplish anything, to be able-bodied enough, to like have the vision for it, to have people want to film you, to whatever. There's all these brackets and stuff that have to go totally right. That I'm like, you think I'm wasting this moment in time?
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting any
And what's
time.
beautiful is you see going for that trick 14 times as not a waste. Do you know what I mean?
Dude.
That's what's so cool is like you see the labor of it.
Yeah.
The accomplishment that comes afterwards. Like
Yeah.
that's what's so fucking
Yeah.
cool.
Well, and on the other side of that, the survival tactics that it's like, dude, when I tried to gain her to that board over the roof, the first one I tried, and I'd been practicing before in like less scary circumstances. The first one I was going over, my body's like, hey, I don't think we should flip all the way this time.
Oh no.
And I was like, what?
As you're in the air, you really felt that.
It was gonna bail or do something. I was like, oh hell no, and so pulled it over. But you don't realize how like. We all do that. You go to that spot that many times and you don't die. Mm-hmm. That's sick. Like 100%. In Stuntman world, you do a bunch of scary stuff and you don't die. That's worth a lot. That I just like was proud of myself for even trying that many times and not getting smoked bad enough to not do it anymore.
Yeah, that's what when I do my edits, it's a rough cut. It's like I love that journey, that like goal of
it's the most relatable part.
And even if it's like a 50-50, like it can be something so simple, but it becomes more respectable the more you see that person like
because they get it, because otherwise you see
try.
people land it and you're just kind of like, yeah, that's rad, you must be really good at that. Like that's the thing, people thought like back in the day, like, oh, you just have flips unlocked so you can just do it anywhere. If you watch me try them, you're like, well, I could probably do that. Like, if that's how you're, but that's before I really got into the deep practice of it. But dude, still, there's a lot of everyman stuff. And for me, that's what I think is relatable. Like, hey, this is a terrible idea. Who's going to try it? My brain is like, yeah, that's sick. No one should try it. But if you did, that would be awesome.
It would be sick to have that.
You know? So I think about it from that view instead of going, all right, what are my advantages? What do I know I can land? What? Because if you play that game.
You play into your strengths, the opposite of what you were saying your brother does.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing. Yes. And also, too, for me, I started to realize, like, how cool is it that playing to your strengths is super important, and every once in a while, if you play against them, it'll keep people guessing.
Oh yeah, dude. When it's so cool when somebody learns how to skateboard and then you tell them while they're watching a part, you go, and that was switch.
Yeah.
And they go, what? And you're like, you know how you stand this way?
Yep.
Imagine doing it in the office. They're like, but what? And you're like, yeah, he's mastered that just as much as he could do it the other way.
You're like, and you don't want to do it the regular. Yeah. It's cool though because it keeps people. And dude, it makes people go, oh shoot, I didn't see that coming, because people don't realize. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you know, but the barracks part that I made, it's their most popular video, and it took them 10 years because they were like, oh, they came in here, I don't know what he made, I don't know why it did so well, and then 10 years later, like, fine, you have the most popular video in here, but if you watch it, what I was doing is I was like, well, I just want to make something. This place has been murdered.
100%.
This place has been annihilated. Yeah. What are the things that like you're like, oh, I don't think anyone would do that in there. I was like, yeah, I'm playing to your surprise. Yeah. I'm playing to you going, nah, no one would do that. Like, gotcha, right? Yeah. That's all I thought of every time. I'm like, what would people not expect to happen?
That's what comedy is. I mean, comedy is that, like,
truly
you walk into something, say something, and you give them that left turn where you're
it's like unmet expectations. Yeah. People ask me all the time, they're like, hey man, I'm sorry, my son needs a signed thing. My son, hey, can we take a photo? I'm sorry to bother you. And I'm like, if you think I'm here for any other reason, do you know how hard I've worked for anyone to recognize anything that I've ever done? Yeah. Like, I was terrified to skateboard. I was terrified to do stunt. I was like terrified of all of it. But I also just didn't want to be nothing and waste my time on the planet. Yeah. So if you would like to in any way, I don't know, justify me doing that or make me feel or affirm that I did it, I'm in. Yeah. How many signatures do you want?
Dude, that gratefulness, I feel like that's like what like carries people. I mean, that's the only reason you should be doing it, is like you actually want to make people's days and shit.
Dude, I'm psyched anyone remembers anything, especially with the internet now. Every day is a talent contest about someone who is incredible. It's not like I'm like, oh, those people kind of suck. I know that. Everyone is good at everything now. Yeah. And if people remember me at all, I'm psyched. I was like, I'll shake your hand again. What do you want? You know? Yeah. I got to go and tour in Japan and do little premieres over there.
Oh, that's definitely one I had to ask. Osaka, really, daggers? That's cool.
Well, here's the thing. I did a little trailer teaser for my part, and then do you know who Go Miyagi is?
Yeah, the dude that I mean, I think his part was famous for walking on the rails and stuff, but I mean, his whole videos are insane.
No, he's like that. He's like, if I had any class or taste, is like he's a total Picasso of. Yeah. You know, like I just don't.
Or
I'm
Jackson Pollock, like just
I'm too crazy to like stick in a vein where he can stick in there and make beautiful stuff that everyone's like, that's incredible. Anyway, he's like, William, when is your part dropping? It does feel very balanced.
It feels very Japanese.
He's very balanced. He's great. Yeah. Anyway, he basically like hit me up on Instagram. We talk. I Google Translate in the Japanese for him, and he's like, "Dude, when is your part coming out? I would love to see it." I was like, I'm coming to Taiwan with my lady friend. I will stop by your house and show you." Yeah. And he was like, and he's very like socially. He gets overwhelmed by stuff really easily, and he's like, "William, I'm really sorry. I'm so honored. I went into this beautiful spiel of like just politeness," and he's like, "But to be fair, I probably won't be there. But Chopper, Chopper is his super good friend, who's equally as creative. If you ever watch Chopper skating,
yeah, no, I definitely have." And
he was like, "I'll hand you over to Chopper. He would love to set up a premiere with you and do it at the skate park and everything." And so it was awesome. So he set it up, and dude,
that's sick to give you the connection and be like, I don't think I can handle this.
He's like literally like emotionally and otherwise I can't.
He seems secluded, even from his parts and stuff. It seems like he's like a guy who is focused on his own little.
Yeah, and that's it. And by the way, I would love to be happy with that. Actually, sometimes that's beautiful.
He posts things, I'm pretty sure, where it's not even him skateboarding. You know, it's just like him walking or
he'll ride a bike backwards through frame, and he's like, I don't know, I just felt like it. Yeah, super classy, like his tastefulness within it. Like, if I didn't have little kid brain, that's what I would like to do, you know? So it's fun to see someone commit to that. I'm like, yes.
An artist, you know?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Can I say thank you?
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk so much. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you for being you.
You know?
Like, I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're a person that skateboarding has. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think you're also somebody that Denver needs to be a little more proud of.
How funny. Thanks for saying that. I mean, you know, for me, my self-awareness is pretty high when it comes to, like, you know, when you give someone something and they go, man, this is awesome, I just don't need it, right? Sure. That in certain ways I felt like my skateboarding and my creativity and whatever that I brought, people were like, we liked it before. I mean, it's good that you're here, I guess. But it goes those two ways in your hometown. Either people are psyched or like, oh, that dude is the worst. I don't really. And for me, I always felt like a guest here anyways, because I just came down. I was hanging with my brother.
Traveling around.
I just wanted to be with him because he's like kind of my inspiration. So as far as my feelings ever being hurt or people being proud of me, like I am one of those like outside characters. If I was like a David Reyes or someone who's like repping Denver all day and whatever in the hometown, maybe it would be more like that. But for me, I was like, man, I'm glad people weren't more mean to me. That was cool. Like, thanks, Denver, for, like, not heckling me too much.
Yeah.
Because my self-awareness, like, I know a lot of that stuff that I was, like, wanted to add to skateboarding was my own program. I just felt like I wanted to. I didn't ask permission or check off. That I understand it makes people, it's kind of like, I don't know if you remember this, but when Elvis was moving his hips at first, people were like, that's just the worst.
That's the devil.
I don't want to. I don't want to look at it, and I can't look away.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
That for me, and not obviously it's not on that scale or anything, but I understand people's like.
It can create an egg. I get it that it was something different, and anytime somebody does something new, it's going to make them uncomfortable, or at least think about it.
Yeah,
and, you know what I mean. But that means that you at least made even somebody that's going to hate, you got to them.
Well, and here's the thing. If you look at skateboarding, you've probably seen this, but before that barracks part, like on one hand, you're like, how many times I've seen people bounce on a skateboard, right? And I went in the barracks and did all the bounce tricks, and now you watch people all the time. They'll go on a cable, bounce into a bank.
Yeah.
They do a thing, bounce into the thing. But before that, did they? Show me, right? But it's one of those things that in the barrack, they're like, oh, you shouldn't set up a slack line. That's not a whatever. I don't like the color yellow. But the truth is, you then at some point knew that it was a good idea and then tried to get comfortable. Well, we'll take it back to a street spot because you shouldn't say. Fine. But the truth is, you did not take that idea.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So for me,
you came up with it. It wasn't like you watched somebody do it and you went.
No, most of my skateboarding, if you watch, you're like, wow, yeah, I guess you could try that if you want. Because I love what's not there. I like looking and going, what's not there yet is this. Like, it's just my passion for it. I didn't say everyone should do it, but you're welcome if you want to. The credit for it would be nice. People don't really, If you watch, though, people like giving credit for that stuff, whatever else. I love giving credit because I remember. I remember exactly. Like, I'll jump off my board and flip it over from the bottom, like super, like little kid tricks, so steezy. Jared Saba used to do them. I saw him doing a line. I was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Like soccer.
Simple,
flip.
and I had never. I was like, that's the coolest thing. I did it down a drop at some point because I was like, dude, But for me, I guess. I am self-aware enough to know that I'm not for everyone. So when Denver or whatever is not that proud, I'm like, hey, man, I get it. You don't know how you feel. I know. Because I know that. Because my dad used to do that. My dad would make me do stuff all the time. That I'd be like, Dad, this is stupid. I don't think so. I don't. And he wouldn't go, well, I'll tell you exactly why you're doing this work. I'll tell you why you're doing this thing, whatever.
Yeah.
He'd be like, son, just trust me and do it. And down the line, I both hated him and was later like, wow, he's super smart. So I get that. And if far pulled back, I understand that I'm that person that will make you uncomfortable by putting in some new ideas. And later you're going to go, well, we should get creative and do some new stuff. And then you're going to go, wait a minute. Like,
No,
sometimes
totally
you
right.
are medicine. People don't like taking medicine. It doesn't taste good. And later on, when you're like, man, I feel better. You're like, yeah, because I broke that open for you. You didn't want to do it because you were scared. You didn't want to not look cool. But guess what? I understand enough of the world that at some point you're going to not look cool anyways. You may as well just face it just head on.
Yeah.
You may as well like not look cool on purpose.
Embrace the meteor.
Yeah, because for me,
stand there and take it.
Yeah, well, not only that, but I never get to anywhere cool. If you look at my lunch break part and you look at my newer part, you're like, oh, my lunch break part. I watch it. I'm like, oh, this is tough to watch.
Really?
My new part, because that was my like B-sides of working out how to make stuff in a way that it didn't annoy me. When I watch my new part, I'm like, you can not like it, but when I watch it, I am not bummed.
That's so sick.
I am.
That's
I
the
like
best
watch
feeling.
it,
That's
and I don't go, oh, this is great. I go, oh, nothing about this annoys me. And you sometimes have to get there.
Nobody told you can't do this, or nobody said edit this part out. It's what you decided. Thank you so much for giving me the time.
Sorry it took so long to schedule. Holy crap.
We made it work.
We did.
That's all that matters.
We did finally.
Yeah, who knows? The other times it wouldn't have been the same episode. So
that's true. Yeah.
No, and I really think the thing that I've really taken away is there's like I don't know. It seems like you really wanted. You've got a lot of goals. It seems like you've accomplished so much, and it's crazy how you've got even so much more to do. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, I really do feel it. Yeah,
that hustle, that respect. I think there's one William Spencer. There's literally just one. And
thanks, man.
That's such a unique thing, and I'm glad you did the pod.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. It's funny how you don't say nice things to yourself very often, you know? So when other people say it, you're like, holy crap, someone thinks that? That's sick. You know, because we self-coach ourselves. We're like, hey, you kind of suck. You need to pull your life together, which it does help. But every once in a while, it's nice to have a contrasting thought about it. We're like, okay, right, I haven't not done something.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, dude. Even
Yeah,
just
man.
like the things that I didn't even know about. And there's 1,000 stories I didn't hear this time. But
yeah. Well, yeah, we'll have to do another one. I would love to hear more about the stand-up stuff too, man.
Yeah,
That'd be
dude, it is a
cool.
blast. It's a whole different world.
Yeah. I'm
But-
glad you're doing that. That's really cool.
The goal is if I ever get to LA, I'll hit you up for sure.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome. Yeah.
But my final, like in my big video, it's gonna be a rough cut with the jokes. So it's gonna be me bombing with a joke, and then it doing kind of well, and then me showing it do very well.
Dude, I like that. Hey, and that is and seeing that whole journey too for people, especially with jokes too, where they think they land or they don't land, and the truth is you just mold it until it's the perfect timing, the perfect facial expression, the perfect pause in between whatever. But I think that's gonna be cool.
And the way that you've really mastered blending things, I would love to do that with stand-up comedy.
dude,
You know,
and
you're a
it's
big inspiration.
Oh, thanks,
You really are.
dude. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means a lot. Sheesh.
And I think Denver should be glad to rep.
Yeah, well, one of these days, you know, it's funny for me. Sometimes in my mind, I feel like, all right, I've done enough. Now this will happen, right?
Yeah.
I've done enough. Now someone will do this. And the truth is, for me, about the time I feel like I've done enough to have the results I want, I usually have to wait another 5 years. Yeah, like there's something about me or my energy or something that I usually have to work about 5 times as hard as I thought I was going to, even when I work really hard. There's something about me, like that video part. If you told me you're going to film a video part for 5 years, I'm like, it's not going to take 5 years. That's crazy. 3 maybe.
Because most people don't dedicate that time.
Yeah, that I was like, and yeah, I did think of some tricks that were really hard for me, but I was like, it's not going to take 5 years. And sure enough, that much time. So I'm psyched for your journey because, like, as long as you just don't quit, your brain, even when you're not thinking about it, it's molding things to be more efficient and better, and your jokes to be better, even when you're like, it just will happen. You know, the mastery of going, oh, I did too much, I'll just do less. You know, because a lot of times that is what it is, because you're just trying. Because I have the problem of trying too hard, where everyone doesn't try hard enough. I try too hard and it doesn't look finessed, and then later I go, all right, I'll just relax a little bit, and then it works. So.
Yeah.
Oh, P.S. Before we go, did you know that Nate Sherwood is doing comedy stuff now?
You're homeboys with him.
You should
Pressure
hit
Flip.
him up. He's freaking. You know what I like about
He
him?
just did
quickly,
nightclub or
sure did.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about him is they had that phase in the '90s where pressure flips were cool, and then they were out, and he was like, "I love them. I'm the best at them. I'll just keep going." Do you know how, like, much flavor you have to do that, and just like not let anything bother you? His are beautiful, by the way. You can say whatever if you don't like his back arm, or you don't like this thing about him, or you don't like his push. I don't give up. If you can pressure flip better than him, good luck.
Find that guy.
They're beautiful.
You were saying, find that guy.
They're beautiful.
He's
Anyways,
that guy.
But yeah, you should hit him up. He's the nicest, and he's been doing a bunch of stand-up comedy. It might be fun to nerd out with him.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Dude,
Yeah.
there's a few of us. There's the skateboarding
I
comedy.
had no idea. I had not seen it, which is a bummer, but that's sick, you guys. Anyone who crosses over into that is so brave.
I mean, most of us grew up on Jackass, so it's hard not to.
Yeah.
I mean, you are the professional version of that.
Yeah.
It's like entertaining, it's risky, and it's also skateboarding.
I know,
So
it's funny. Steve-O will hit me up every once in a while, and I'll be like, and he skated with some other guys. I'm like, dude, I got this thing we should try. And he's always like, ooh, not that. That's spicy.
No way, man.
And I'm like, what? Like, you're so gnarly. Like, I'm still trying to get him in there on, just something fun. We'll see.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. This has been a blast. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yes, dude.